water circulating. Deeper environment, it's friendly because you're not actually. Everybody here hates it. Well, because it's hard to get them serviced. I actually talked to Jamie over at the Boys and Girls Club, and they said the first few years was rough, but now it's working great.
Looks great.
No, it's
Great.
heavy though.
For us. Okay, I'll call this meeting Capital Program Committee to order. Do you guys see anyone looking for you?
Yeah, there's 4 people in the waiting.
Oh, yeah. And the one in the parking lot.
No, the other view button next to the 4 people.
This one? Gotcha.
Right there, yeah. No, just click on one by, oh, there we go. Oh, wow. That worked. Met all.
Hey, Barry.
Hey, Barry. Yeah, they are.
All right, so I can close that just in case. Oh, for better or worse, our prior meetings were not recorded. I just realized. It was auto record. You have to select one of the methods, either the computer or to the cloud.
Interesting.
So, now that I understand why.
That explains why when I went looking for one, I couldn't find it.
All of our hard work. Lost necessarily. Okay, I believe we said we'll call this meeting the Capital Program Committee to order. It will after December 7th, 2023. This meeting is actually being audio and video recorded. It'll be displayed on the town YouTube, but please don't say or display anything you don't want. That said, we'll display it on tape. Approval of agenda. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Public comment. See no hands. And in the room, move on to FY capital request solid waste. What I'd like to actually do is pick up solid waste in the context of the Rory discussions. Sure. And it's towards the end, so I think it'll kind of fit in neatly and we'll have a better idea how much time we have left and we can kind of gauge that discussion. Is that? And we'll just for the rest of the membership, we'll be looking to our liaisons to the solid waste enterprise fund to kind of give us an update and some their thoughts on it. Review of outstanding items. Let me just bring people up to speed on a couple things. Airport kindly submitted AIP cost projects annotation, which is the ramp, high mast lights and runway 624 repair. There were a few, as a practical matter, there were a couple of projects that switched departments with respect to management of the projects. Sue, they are hazard mitigation plan, Folgers Marsh Bridge, and the admin's ground mapping radar. Another one was switched, but it's been pulled for a future year, or no, it was rolled into another request, so it's not relevant to discuss. Sue, on the ground mapping radar, is that the alphanumeric code going to change too, or it's just going to be the department that manages it? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Sure am. At this time, it's not going to change. That's something I have to send to the developers in order to change any of the project codes.
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to see if I was missing something and if I needed to make a note. So that'll be as it is. Howard, there's been some email exchanges on solid waste. Howard will update us on those. With respect to costs, those have been incorporated into our worksheets. We had a list of items open to discuss once we receive information back from department heads. I think what we're going to do is we receive some of that and but not all of it. And I think what we're going to do is we'll see how that works out in the mix. So for example, if we're just flying through our preliminary recommendations and the police auxiliary building comes up, and we have time, I can dig into that email and we can discuss it. And if not, what we'll do is we'll base our preliminary recommendation on the information we have. And I have an annotation that will pick up more of a final review on that particular one after the fact. Similarly, the sewer facility supplemental. We asked for specific information, we received it. But wading into it in detail without having forwarded you all members emails in advance may not be a good use of our time if we don't have time to do it. So those particular ones I'll call out as we go, and we will kind of address them as we go. That is police service maintenance and others. Let me keep this. If you didn't understand what I said, it'll all make sense as we go through the process. Try to tell you what we're gonna do and then do it and tell you what we're doing as we do it. Kind of a military thing. Okay, where we are with this process, which is determining which Rory valuations we want to discuss further and making our preliminary determination, is I've taken the median, I applied the standard deviation in this column, anything that is highlighted and in a maroon text are items that fall outside the standard deviation. Number one. There are a couple others that I'll ask Sue as we go, if there's no dollar number or a question mark there. There are, I believe, 12 of them. Any item in light gray has been pulled, which is to say it's been recommended either for an out year or not to be pursued by town admin.
Yeah.
We'll address it in work group how we incorporate that into the report. But for now, anything in light gray, we won't actually be reviewing for a preliminary up down. That's that column. The two columns, no yes, are imminent threat and legal requirement. And any of these that are active requests that are a yes are again highlighted in maroon with maroon text. And we'll pick those up as we go. If they're outside of the standard deviation, then we'll talk about them. So we'll kind of go through this as I'll tag those as we go through it. What else? Anything in maroon over here across left to right are requests that we had asked for supplemental information on. This one is a little more complicated because it's already been advanced through a town meeting. Right, seasonal employee housing. Am I getting that confused?
Yeah, we did it at fall. right?
Yeah, that was
yeah.
fine. The Tacoma housing is one.
Special, right?
So that one.
This is Wait Drive.
Yeah.
Dormitory for seasonal workers.
Site bay.
Yeah.
Okay, ground mapping radar, you can ignore the coloring there, that was for the question I had for Sue. Okay, so what I'd like to do is just kind of quickly go through these and see if any of these you would like to discuss. So if I'm literally gonna go from top to bottom. Or actually, let me start that again. Number one, the standard of deviation was big 9. Standard deviation was 9.8, which on the mean was, and the mean was 62.4. So as a totality of the average, it's a pretty large number. Do we want to, is everyone comfortable with proceeding with anything that is below the standard of deviation? How do we want to proceed with those? Are they automatically out? Are they automatically talked about?
No,
Go ahead.
I think they automatically should be up for discussion,
Okay,
because I mean, someone might have a thought on it.
Yeah.
I don't have I'm not picking one out, but I just think it'd be
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
that's
know
fine.
one. I
Our due
definitely wanna
diligence
talk
just to discuss, you know.
Good. Yeah, no, I just, the other day we talked
Yeah.
about automatically putting them in and I never represented they could be
Got it.
automatically out, so I just wanted to lead with that, so. Okay, so, and then how do we want to process these requests that we know are within the standard deviation? Do we want to just go through these one by one and put an X next to anyone people want to talk about?
I think that's what we've done in the past,
Okay,
where
yeah,
we
I
just kind of bang through them real quick, and if someone wants to say, you know, let's come back to that one,
okay,
whether it's a big discussion or it's just something minor.
Mhm.
But I do think before we just automatically put everything above that lower standard deviation in the hopper and approve it.
and I support that approach. We just have new members, so I want to make sure they get a chance to weigh in on it. And basically then we're gonna go with, maintain, network infrastructure. Server virtualization and server virtualization. Sure, oh God.
Virtualization.
Server virtualization.
I walked here, my God.
Server.
Admin 17002,
Yeah,
replace town computers. Townwide document management system. This one we've already addressed. Coastal resiliency,
it's probably.
that's gonna be an automatic. That was pulled, EV charging stations. That's an automatic.
I have a question on that one, yeah.
We did have information that we requested for this, so this would actually fall into the. Kind of, we make our preliminary based on what we have, and we're gonna revisit it for certain when we get more information. Just to be clear, that was part of what I was saying at the beginning. Sue, can you tell me, Tacoma Way Housing, was that just not active?
Oh, it's active.
Sorry about that, I'm muted again.
No, that's fine.
Community housing got renamed to. You find it. We dropped the Tacoma Way, and I believe it says town employee housing, design permitting, and.
Okay.
House 25001.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's in.
And-
Okay. that was
I'm
my
so
question.
sorry, and we lowered it down, we're only gonna be asking for 3 million for fiscal 25.
Perfect, that's,
Great.
that addresses two questions at once.
Renamed to make it more
Appropriate.
cryptic.
Cryptic. Less appropriate.
To give us other options to, you know, and to be able to use the money for other related town housing than just Tacoma Way.
Okay, stormwater management plan implementation.
Didn't make sense.
It was originally associated with a specific property, and I think what it sounds to me like. There needs to be additional flexibility about where we do town employee housing first.
Okay, so that's Brooke, just for the minutes, and we'll pick up discussion on that one when we get to it,
Right,
right?
that
Because
would
we're
be
gonna
great,
talk about it.
Yes.
Well, we haven't decided to talk about it, but we're gonna, everyone's gonna have a chance to say, oh, I wanna talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's see, stormwater management plan, DPW mechanic truck replacement,
Was that an automatic?
that's an automatic, thank you. Turf maintenance equipment,
Yes, please.
you wanna talk about that?
Yeah.
Keeping in mind, just to be clear, feel
Yep.
like little Sarah here, if it's. If it's not highlighted, it's automatically going into the hopper unless you wanna discuss it, just to be clear on what that means, so.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about it?
That one's, Kubota. Sue, I got two questions. We had the, DPW transportation 25 dump trucks. One was 007, and one was 009. But I didn't see them in the Capcom review report. Have those been moved to out years?
Bear with me.
DPW transportation,
25009, is that what you said?
7 and 9.
7 and 9, no, they both should still be there. One was for 121,000, one was for 129,800. I will take a look in Plum.
Okay, so those two we are gonna need to address, in our, maybe we want to address in the preliminary, let's see how it shows out.
So I see the mechanics truck, is that one which is, it's in here.
Yeah, it's not showing up in the summary report,
Oh.
so.
The
neither of
mechanic-
those two.
Wasn't the mechanics truck separate from those two?
Yeah, and these are also highlighted, these are in maroon text because we had a question about whether the quote was. This accuracy of the quote, or was it a shared quote, or what was going on? DPW. DPW facility design supplemental funding. This we're gonna do our preliminary. I don't want to get into discussion on this one because we're gonna be discussing it at a later date.
Okay.
We don't have enough information to,
For reference, though, that one's within the standard deviation, right?
yeah, it's just we didn't have enough. And, okay. Tom Nevers debris removal. Just to highlight, it is a imminent threat, but it is in the. In the hopper. Any questions on that one? Engine 1 replacement, ambulance 4 replacement, engine 2 replacement. New administrator car, EMS training. Ladder truck replacement. We're going over to hazard management plan, stormwater management plan. Pontoon Spring stormwater study. Stormwater CCTV and management. Climate action plan is automatic, Folger March Bridge is an automatic.
Just real quick on, so some of those, weren't those in stormwater before, but now they're showing up in HMP? Or those always been in HMP and then there's also separate stormwater?
There was some that went from HMP to stormwater. I do know that.
Not
I don't know
those
about
ones,
these.
'cause those ones seem
Earlier,
very
yeah.
stormwater
Yeah.
relevant. But anyways, I guess we'll see when we get to stormwater.
Gonna remind me to ask a question later. Let's see. Environmental justice. Contemplate housing feasibility study. Do we wanna, anyone?
Is that the one that we were just talking about? That got, the
Yes,
name got
feasibility
changed?
design, yeah.
Is that a yes and actually wanna
No,
discuss or no?
if it's in, I don't need to talk about it.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind hearing kind of the background of what you guys were discussing, but
Okay.
whatever
Yeah,
more
I wouldn't mind
appropriate.
just
Yeah.
your, we
Yeah,
can
we weren't
discuss
looking
what
for
you were
something.
saying.
Yeah,
We
just-
weren't looking for
That's
supplemental.
speculation on
clarification.
my part,
Okay.
not knowledge, but.
Got it.
oh, okay.
All right, this is, we've added the AIP. This is a legal.
Yeah.
Requirement. Groundwater and soil investigation, PFAS, legal requirement, it came in within the standard deviation, actually it came in above average. Yeah. So that, is what it is. Let's see, mill and overlay parking. Grounding and lighting protection system. Catch basin cleaning and installation. Paint and beads and rubber markings. Runway 624, that also came in as AIP, just a clarification. Employee housing supplemental construction, airport,
Oh, yeah.
we're jumping over to the public schools. IT infrastructure. Building improvements. 24, okay, so this one. To correct me or if I've got this wrong, but 24 Surfside Road was preliminarily discussed when we met with the schools. It was not yet determined to advance it to an FY25. It has been advanced to an FY25. We all need to go in and do our Rory on it. We aren't gonna we'll put it in the list for the preliminary recommendation. But we'll just make a little footnote that we were looking for supplemental information and we'll be, addressing this in a final recommendation. And if for some reason select board or FinCom want our perspective on this before the final report, they can reach out because we'll be dealing with it on the 14th or something like that. I'll be following up with you all to remind you to do the Rory. So that's why that one's completely grayed out. NPS ground improvements. Actually, Sue, question for you. Campus-wide. There was the campus-wide. What, management plan or something to that effect. And that didn't show up in the, for some reason, that didn't show up in the CAPCOM review. Sorry, I'm trying to think of what it's called, but
money for the architect to do the master plan.
So they canceled that this week. They said they don't need it. So I put it in canceled status in Plum, so that's why you probably did not pull it on the report.
and that's the campus-wide improvement plan study.
For
Right,
750.
something like that.
Yep,
Not really a study, they do meetings.
Yeah, we wanted them to differentiate between what were soft planning costs and what was hard project
I
costs.
think it had in there the SMRT contract.
No, there were definitely questions.
that is correct. You had questions, but they canceled the capital request. I believe they may have other funding to do it. I don't remember the specific.
Okay, so we want to carry that because, we put time into it. We want to reflect in our report the number of requests that came in and the number that were approved, and those that weren't approved, were they not approved for whatever reason. Oh, here's the NPS. Okay. Back up. We're down to ground improvements. Resources Department Baseline Environmental Data Program. Reconstruction of jetties, tennis courts. New playground facility in Overdeer. Tom Evers Playground reconstruction. Public safety auxiliary, we did receive information, but we haven't fully reviewed it, hasn't been disseminated, so we're gonna hold that. Public safety technology upgrades. CMOM, we had a question on the cost. I feel less inclined to hold this. We can always make a preliminary recommendation based upon what our current understanding is and footnote it. And just to back up a little bit, there's a $2 million ask for the sewer and the stormwater CMOMs. And our question was, the sewer used to be historically 2 million, and it did include some stormwater work. So we wanted a clarification on what the actual intended expense is. Is it 2 million, or is it 2 million or each of them less? We need clarification.
I can respond to that, Stephen.
Go ahead.
It's 2 million and 2 million. Stormwater was at the past town meeting. We've now created a separate enterprise fund for it. So that's why it has its own CMOM now.
Mhm.
So those are two separate requests, one for sewer enterprise, one for stormwater enterprise.
Okay, sounds good. And then the question for you guys is, are we comfortable proceeding with sewer CMOM in our preliminary now, given that information? There's no other information.
That was the only
Yeah.
clarification, yeah.
Yeah, just wanted to.
He needs both. Yeah.
Right. Okay, Somerset Roads needs area sewer extension. Wisconsin area sewer redesign. Coastal erosion, Surfside and Sconset. These are imminent threats. Actually, we don't need to tag those. Let's see, Surfside maintenance and administration. This one we're gonna hold. Hummock Pond area sewer extension. Anyone? Okay, I want to hit that one. These were put off to the out years. New loader backhoe, upgrade and replace. Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there.
Island-wide drainage improvements, we're down in stormwater. Stormwater capacity management, CMOM, I just have one on that. Somerset Raceway Road and infrastructure, stormwater, F-350 utility truck with plow, stormwater, ground penetrating radar. Stormwater. This is gonna be Howard and Brooke comments.
The Howard Show.
Landfill is gonna be part of that. And. Let's see. Sidewalk improvement plan. Islandwide road improvement, multi-use path, cobblestone improvements. Wisconsin footbridge. Decommissioned fire cisterns. New park and rec pickup. Newtown Road improvements. Park and rec truck, dump truck, 9-foot dump truck, state body truck, sorry. Dump truck replacement. Oh, Sue, trans 25007 dump truck replacement, was that also canceled or put into an out year?
I'm sorry, which was the number?
Trans -25-007.
Nope, I think that's one we just talked about. No, and I did check those in Plum and they are in capital committee review status, so I'm not sure why they're not showing.
Okay, I'll double check what my note was, but thank you for. Facilities facilities dump truck replacement. Okay, pump station upgrades and distribution system improvements. Those are the last two being one comment. Okay.
What's a typical request year that you guys recommend?
Pardon me?
What's been, I just don't have the numbers on the top of my head. What is typically recommended in terms of?
Number.
Oh,
of
what's the
requests?
percent?
Number?
Or just dollar amount?
Oh,
Between 70 and 110 million.
Okay.
And typically, if there's a cost issue, we would hear about it over here.
Mhm.
So. On other, for instance, well, I won't get into other yet, but there would be something over here from town manager indicating, you know, we don't necessarily know where we're gonna get the money for this. And some discussion would obviously precede that.
Okay.
Okay, on funding, Sue, I'll have some questions for you. They're just minor, but I'll pick them up. And those we're gonna wrap into our final review. There's nothing of any material nature for our discussion today. So from the top, let's just get an idea here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 24 of these, so and we spent way more time on this than I thought in the lead up. So I apologize for that, but let's just be cognizant of our time when we're asking questions, please, and try and move through this as quickly as we can so that we do have time for bigger potential topics of discussion in this list. Townwide document management system. Somebody wanted that, Christie?
Not me.
No.
No.
Chance, everybody's got a
Quick.
chance to revert their call. Coastal resiliency,
I mean. I just curious.
you are the
If there was,
liaison.
yeah, I'm just curious, and I still voted it, what I think thought was appropriate, but, just if there's any, you know, if there's any aversion to it, as we know, coastal resiliency is still. You could say for what we're looking at is it's still in its infancy somewhat. Funding has been happening, and I think with this funding, it has given the department some flexibility to start design and a lot of work in preparation for you know, a robust future. So, you know, I think that oftentimes in this committee, if something's really not earmarked, it's kind of hard to approve it. In this case, you know, it is a funding that is going to become critical and significant. And I think by planning and doing things now, eventually we will start to see some projects that will fall under some departments, for example. David moving the sewer beds, that is a coastal resiliency issue right there. So, some things will rear themselves within the departments. Other projects will rear themselves from hazard mitigation or natural resources department. So I mean, I'm a proponent of it. I think it's worthy. I think it's it's good insight to kind of keep that one in the forefront.
Brooke?
I concur, and if you've noticed, they've secured some funding and grants, and so I think preparedness and planning sets us up to be ready to apply for grants when they come available, and the money's going to start to flow on coastal resilience with the governor's commitment to coastal communities. And I would hate to see us be behind the 8 ball when those opportunities
Yeah.
come along. So this feels like really important foundational work on an issue that's, it's not imminent. But what did we do on housing? We waited until it was so far
Yeah.
gone that solving it is a much bigger problem. So I'd like to see us be proactive as well.
Mhm.
Do you know about
Howard?
grants? How much of this is offset by grants? Potential grants, applied for grants?
So they have, they did secure a grant for, I think, 500,000. And the department, as I said, it's in its infancy, but they have really dedicated staff. So I think that will present itself. As far as this is just town funding, Howard. So I see that the opportunity for grants happening as much as possible. But a lot of times those grants rely on matching funds. If those funds aren't available, if you have to wait a year, then that's a problem. But
It's Howard again. Is that number that's there already net of the grant amount?
no,
So could that number in fact be lower by the amount of grant that has been awarded?
well, the grant, it's a HMZ grant. I gotta look at the details, but no, not necessarily. I think to some extent, when the town started funding coastal resiliency, they committed to the issue with what was initially I think $500,000 funding, maybe two or 3 years ago. And then I think it might even happen in this committee where that went up to $1 million, or it happened in town administration. I can't remember, but that was sort of the number. But
I can give you a concrete example of
Yeah.
where this money would be spent.
That'd be helpful.
We're in a cooperative arrangement with the land bank on planning for Washington Street. And that is a stepwise design permit process moving down Washington Street. The land bank is splitting the cost with us on that because this is their properties and our properties. So to have the funds to engage in that kind of collaboration to move something critical, a critical access roadway for truck traffic for access to town, and being able to get ahead of the storm surge and have stuff done and in place, and then have it designed, because you can't really you can't apply for grants until something's designed. So
I mean, we see all the models of 10 years, 20 years, 50 years in where the water will maybe be. But that doesn't mean that in 3 years, storms are going to be any less, because they are going to probably get worse. That kind of thing where as that comes up, the storms are going to present themselves and those will be worse. And so we're not saying fund a project in 20 years because the water is going to be, at the bulkhead level downtown. We're saying fund this so that we can start planning for storm surge, everything else that has to do with it. So.
Yeah, so this is, just real quickly, this is to establish in part funding. Not only identifying and developing projects, but seeking the grant monies and so on and so forth. So that's going to be helpful.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind is that this is, although it's, depending on where you rank this on a scheduled replacement value in the Rory's, it could be 11.6 or so points in of itself. So this would have brought it up out of the, above the standard deviation, so. And with that in mind, but more so just the general importance of the project, I support it. I think what I would ask at this point is there anyone who feels that, not to put anyone on the spot, we don't have any silent voting, we don't have little clickers. But is there anyone who has a concern about advancing this? If you do, what I would suggest, Barry, one sec, what I would suggest is we would put this in, as a, just we'll annotate it somehow to indicate it's still under consideration or further details required or something. Barry?
Yeah, so if you want, I'd love to have further discussion on this as
Okay.
opposed to just passing by it right now
Okay, and you,
and spend a little more time.
inherent in that is you have concerns.
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
fair. I just wanted, because if you don't, then.
And so, just in practice, don't we typically vote as a committee on up, down for ones that anybody does have an issue just agreeing to?
Last year we voted them all in one.
Yeah, we voted them all in one, so.
Well, we voted on
No.
all the ones everyone's fine with.
Correct.
Is one, but then don't we have a list at the end of going through all this? That's,
We worked it out and again, one vote or something. It wasn't-
Yeah, I think what I did is
no, not on each one, but like if it's a split room, it has to come down to the yes or no decision comes down to the vote, right?
Correct.
I mean, we're an informal group, but there are those things called motions and they serve a purpose. Both in
Yeah.
terms of moving things along, but also resolving them, so.
Yeah.
I'm open for discussion. Keep in mind, this is a preliminary up, down. This is not our final.
Mhm.
So if Howard, and then let's decide what we want to do as a group.
I think your point, I didn't even think about it, of the 11 points for scheduled replacement. Kind of the wrong question to get those points, which are well deserved.
Mm.
When you think about it.
And it depends on how you interpret that scheduled replacement, so.
Right.
Could have
Right.
zeroed that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a replacement of anything, but it is
Right.
planning for replacement.
Yeah.
So if we went back and go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll save my comments till we actually.
Well, I
tackle this thing.
I don't have an issue either way. I think if we want to be more definitive, ultimately, the question in my mind is. Do we want to demonstrate some sense of definitiveness for the select board and the FinCom, which I think is part of why we're doing this?
Mhm.
And if that's the case, we may vote on it and put in that it's a yes. If we're open to being a little, passing on a more
Taking it
ambiguous
back to us.
message, then we'll kick it up to them, and in the meantime, they can discuss it or not, and we'll have time to discuss it. Howard,
So I would make a motion to include it.
in the preliminary?
Yeah.
For the sake of clarity, as in favor.
Yes.
Okay, just so I understand. I want to do just on these because it's not like I think we're gonna vote on these. Why don't we get a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so on the second, and is there any further discussion? No, it was seconded. All right, and again, this is for preliminary.
Right.
All in favor of moving it forward within the preliminary recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Two, okay. So why don't, and then, I think what I'd like to do, just because we're gonna. We've got 7 of us, right? So that's for me, not for you guys, but, keep in mind that we can still talk about this more if you guys want to review it and make a point in the next discussion. Let me know, we'll just address it. It doesn't need to be on the agenda. We're gonna have these discussions.
Yeah, because there's some salient points I'd like to really.
Yeah,
bring
yeah,
up
yeah.
On this.
So why are we taking a vote before you've talked about your?
See, that's why I'm getting really confused on this.
Oh, I was
because-
gonna, if I may.
Talk about it now, I mean,
Well, we've got, so this is the problem. We have X amount of time to get through this list in order that I can provide our product to the select board and the FinCom. So we're up against the timeline here. We didn't have these, I'm not blaming people, I'm just stating facts. These were not completed in time for me to get us to the point that we're having this discussion last week.
Mhm.
So, I need to have some flexibility in order to help guide the committee to completing its work. So what I would suggest is, we previously identified that the solid waste was gonna be a discussion. We previously identified through or telegraphed through prior meetings that the airport housing was gonna be a discussion. We've got 14 minutes till 2 o'clock, and then we had said it was gonna be, a 2 hour meeting. So we'll have basically an hour and 15 minutes. What I'd like to do. Where I was headed with this before is I'm gonna put a D in there. We voted this one, I'm not gonna reverse the vote. But if we have any of these that people wanna talk about more, we'll save them to the end. If we have time, we can weigh in on it. If we don't have time, we're gonna move forward with a vote on them. Either as a group as Ds or individually. I don't know how many there will be, but there's only 13 or 14 of these, so there aren't gonna be that many. And that will help facilitate the process while still allowing people's voices to be heard. If it's not at this meeting because we don't have time, it will be at the next meeting.
Understood.
Fair enough?
Can we do the airport one so these guys don't have to?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be,
That's
yeah,
what
we
I
all
was
like
Just, thank you, I was just thinking about this. Is there anyone who's got issues with concerns with that prior? Christie?
I just think before the end of the meeting, I do want to hear Barry's points.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all kind of had this,
I
but
do too.
I
Very
like-
curious to hear-
I don't think there's a reason why we have to wait. If he's got some concerns, I'd like to hear it while we gave our positive,
Well,
Points
I'm
to
gonna
it.
tell you the reason we have to wait is because I gotta get the product done. So if we don't have time because people didn't do their work in advance. The committee shouldn't be blemished based on that.
no, but you would asked who has it
Okay,
opposing our
I'm gonna move
agreement,
this
right?
along. I'm gonna move
Okay.
this along. We have time at the end of the meeting if we have time to talk about it today. And if we don't, we will talk about it at the next meeting.
Got it.
That's, I don't think I can be any more clear.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chair, real quick.
Why are we here?
Jill, seriously?
No, I'm just saying, like,
Did you hear,
Well-
I'm sorry, but did you hear anything I just said?
I did hear what you
We
said.
have, we have to we need to advance our work. So basically what I'm saying is, we as a committee need to prioritize the work we're doing right now. And if we have enough time at the end of the meeting, we will pick up if someone has a particular issue.
So can I make one suggestion? Why are we even talking about things that got approved?
We're not.
You did pick some things that were outside of the standard deviation. I thought we were only gonna pick things that.
The membership wanted to go through the list so that if anyone had a concern, they would be able to select it. It was really, that was
There-
stated at the beginning of the meeting.
There might have been like a few items outside of the thing, probably just for clarification. I don't see us having this discussion on many of these others,
Yeah.
but that's just my
Look,
take.
Guys, we're spending 5 or 10 minutes talking about what we are not gonna talk about later, that we could be talking about something that's important to someone. I would appreciate it if we just move forward with the meeting. Thank you. EV charging stations.
We were gonna do airport housing.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
please.
sorry. I was hoping to do like a non-controversial one.
Oh, well,
Now let's,
let's save them the time.
for sake of them being here,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Let's see.
While you're looking, can I ask them a question on EV charging stations?
Yes, Christie.
Are you guys planning on getting one of the levels, level 2 or 3 for those?
We usually follow the towns, they go in on a large grant, multiple locations.
Because
We'll go
yeah,
in.
one of our concerns with the town is that they're going for the level 2, which might take 8 hours as opposed to 1 hour. And if you're trying to charge for these, then you're really losing money in the long run.
You know,
So we're just trying to,
the town energy office has been in a leadership position.
Yeah.
From my standpoint, they've done good work.
yeah,
Set their leadership.
yeah, all right.
All right, we are looking at housing at the airport, the
Do
supplemental.
we want to make a note of a recommendation on that?
When we come to it,
Okay,
Yeah,
no, I mean, because we're going to annotate the final report with footnotes.
okay. Yes.
all right, hold this up. Okay. We requested information, we received information, we felt generally, if not specifically, it addressed what we asked for. Now we're discussing our qualitative assessment of that and making a recommendation. Does anyone have a concern? And if so, let's hear them. None. That works. That puts us at, I'm sorry, I want to get back to. Who called it, just out of curiosity?
You did.
I did,
You did.
anticipating we would have some discussion. Okay. All right, well, we should have done them at the beginning of the damn meeting.
Always exciting though, right?
Well, thank you for coming in, gentlemen. The. We'll leave it at that. I think that's simple, straightforward.
Parking lot.
I'll say for this,
That'd be good.
I'm at your disposal for your schedule. I can stay if you need to move on to other items, but I can let you go and have a parking lot.
We got the information we needed on that. I think that this is one of those projects that just, it doesn't, whether it is. It gets the 25 points of, being a high priority or not in the individual assessment of the membership. 34.5%, it's just variability within the metrics. Did you call that?
I did not call it.
It was just
Oh, we did it.
I think it was just, yeah.
So, while we're here, is there anyone who has a concern with the Mill and Overlay parking lots? Howard, is that a perpetual hand up?
Oh, that was my, airing my kind.
Okay.
Can I ask a general question?
Yeah.
On that?
Yeah.
The parking lot always seems like it's in flux, whether it's how you're charging. Rental company, like, what's the state of it? Is it, you guys have it under control? I mean, is the current funding situation working?
Yeah, so over the last 3 years, we've moved from putting it out to a management contract to running it in-house. It's a net revenue source, revenue center, positive to about $250,000, 300,000 a year. So we're looking to keep it managed in-house.
All right. Sorry, not really relative.
No, it's fine. So we're gonna go back up to our list. Again, thank you for coming in. Yeah, we should have just jumped to them first.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
EV charging stations.
Thanks for the extra info. Thank you.
EV charging stations, we're looking for additional information. Do we want to just put this as do we want to do a preliminary yes or no? Or do we want to just wait?
I'd like to wait. I mean, if we get more information, then I'd be happy to.
Yeah, we're gonna make a recommendation. It's
Yes.
just- We'll annotate it so it's not a bias one way or the other in terms of how it's.
So
interpreted.
to
Thank you very
clarify,
much.
so-
Thanks.
You guys.
So that one we will
Thank you.
have a determination on by the end of this meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so we don't vote it down pending review and
Yeah.
follow-up vote. We
Yeah,
just
no.
leave it ambiguous until we get the follow-up information.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have a small bucket of those that aren't voted on today.
Any that have this dark.
Gotcha,
blue
okay.
highlight.
Yep, got it.
Ground mapping radar. Somebody, these are all automatic. Okay, let's do this. Is there anyone who has concern with advancing the ground mapping radar?
Not as-
Not advancing,
$100,000 expense. It's
not advancing.
I think they got approved at CPC. Do we know that yet?
or do we have anything in the notes?
Oh, for a grant?
Potential grant.
Yes.
while we were-
It was in their description, but yeah, I don't know if it was
I'm
confirmed.
quite sure it got approved, but I can't say it was certain.
Sue might know.
Sue,
I do not, but I'll be happy to find out.
okay,
Great,
super.
thank you.
So
Thank you so
the
much.
question would be, if they got a CPC grant, do they need this to proceed to take advantage of that grant? And if the answer to that question is yes,
so, yes,
then for
then-
$100,000, I say we advance it.
And yeah, and I think that's why we review all the ones under the threshold.
I can,
I would also say that it's ultimately gonna save money by having that. $100,000 is a small amount of money to
Right.
save a ton of money. And be accurate.
that's Main Street, right?
Yeah. Maybe anybody knows, is that materially different from the underground mapping radar that the sewer departments requesting?
Yeah.
That's.
I would assume it was, but I've never really, not familiar with either, so I didn't know if maybe.
Barry?
Just mine.
And that was my question as well too. If I look at like the project description stuff, it's kind of really unclear.
Yeah, what that was for,
What they're expecting for some type of result information.
for this admin
I mean,
request.
it talks about historically recording things and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know what that
A little
all
ambiguous.
begins to spec out at.
This is more like a preserve heritage sort of thing. The ground mapping for for water sewer.
Operation.
Is
Yeah, but
operation.
it doesn't really say that, does it?
Yeah.
It did, I think we talked about it.
Yeah,
I think
So,
they got the explanation, they explained why
all right,
they were doing it.
I might, that, then I, you know,
You might
I
not have
missed
been
me,
there,
I
yeah.
might have missed me.
I don't know if
too,
I
and I'm willing
grasped it when they did, because
What's that?
I don't know if I grasped it that way when they did, because the sewer one seemed very black and white.
Right,
This
and
one
that's,
seemed
and
a little
that's
bit
what I agree
more
with.
sidewalks,
Can we
underground
hold it for more
mapping.
information?
you guys,
Maybe we heard it in our meeting
the first,
Yeah.
the,
with Dave.
guys,
Yes,
the request in front of us.
Hmm.
Let me just double check it one more now. This is. We really need to get the alphanumeric on the top of the sheet.
yep, I agree.
Admin 25007, right?
That's correct.
So this is partial grant funding is being sought to complete a scope of work in concert with an outside vendor. The
Correct.
town of Nantucket is to purchase the equipment to perform the work from the time of purchase going forward. Different scope of services. With respect to the town's request, it's for specialized work with respect to an inventory of the historic resources. So I just want to clarify what the two are and why there's a difference. They're not lumped
Yeah.
together.
And the other thing is,
Totally
this is
There's-
LiDAR,
Right,
Right,
and LiDAR is quite different than the underground mapping, which is, I think, using like a sonar or something.
yeah,
yeah, I think you're
I
right.
agree with, yeah.
And then towns, while we're talking about it, the equipment the town is procuring is in part to then document the information and put it on the GIS server so that it's readily available at the click of a button based upon what you click.
Well, just to move on, because you've
Yeah.
already addressed it, we have a question that we'd like you can answer and then deal with it.
Yeah, CPC.
Okay, what is the question though?
Did they get a CPC grant? to
Yeah.
Execute.
Yes. I figured.
So we want to hold on this?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Because if they did, it'd be pretty obvious to
Yes.
thumb it up.
Yeah,
Let's see, DPW mechanic truck replacement, any concerns?
Maybe.
I'm sorry, one more time, Steve.
DPW mechanic truck replacement,
Oh, there we go, okay.
none, turf maintenance, equipment replacement.
It's the Susan Lucci of.
So with the mechanics truck, when we, I think it was last meeting, did somebody mention how there was some update to something or the way that they were doing maintenance on trucks in the field that changed this?
no,
request a little
I
bit or
had
something?
asked him if they had a current fleet manager, which is David
Yeah.
Fleur,
Yeah.
and they said, you know, maybe this would assist him in his
I thought there was, yeah,
work, but it's always come in as I remember it being low priority and
yeah.
just sort
Yeah.
of, they're not really pushing it. They've never really pushed it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought somebody made a comment that said, oh, well, let's discuss that at the next meeting when we actually get into it, that had more to do with. They didn't really get into it, but it sounded like somebody had something to say that they weren't saying that last meeting, they were running, but if not, then.
I think I need to see better care of the vehicles before I start going and.
Buying a truck to,
I don't
I'll do so.
So the only comment I'll make is, this is. Vehicle is to help.
That care,
Maintain the
better
vehicles.
care.
yeah,
I've recently been out to DPW, they are working with.
No,
Excuse me.
Yeah.
They're working on a shoestring with gum and foil. I mean, I'm just gonna say this, and I don't normally weigh in on these things like this, it's almost shameful. To see the vehicles and the resources they have to accomplish the tasks that would save the town. Dramatic amounts of money by implementing routine maintenance on schedules determined by manufacturers. And if you don't have the resources to do the work you have now, and you're challenged for human resources, the human resources you have don't have the tools to do the work they have now, and they can't do the work they need to do to make it more efficient.
Right.
So that's my perspective. Christie.
to me, that's a facility issue. That's not add another vehicle to the inventory issue, because they specifically said that this is This is for when there's a vehicle that breaks down out in the field, they would go get it with this. That's what I'm going on.
No, they would take the tools to repair it on site.
Yeah.
is the
On
way I
site, that's
read
what,
it.
yeah, that's right.
Where this vehicle is.
So, Stephen,
Where
are
the
you,
broken down
How much-
vehicle is.
Stephen,
Broken
are
down.
you suggesting then that we should put this on hold and ask more questions again? In order to follow up again on this? Is that what you're saying?
I don't
I'm not saying it.
think
I
so.
said Stephen,
I don't think so. I think we can make a
and
determination.
everybody's good with it then.
Yeah. I just trying to pull up the. We start, part of the issue is that we. Start these reviews and then we go through our process and we do this at the end, which is, in large part by necessity. It's a DPW mechanic truck for servicing breakdowns of equipment and is out in the field, replacing the current 2017 truck. So that's just to be clear what it is. And I think what,
2017? Pretty new.
so what would we like to do with this one?
Further discussion, maybe? Just sounds like.
I'm just trying to find these things.
Yeah.
You guys tell me,
You've made a compelling argument, Stephen.
yeah,
I think in the past, this is where we would say, all right, someone want to make a motion to keep it in or to leave it as is, and then we take a vote on it and we move on.
yeah, I just don't feel comfortable as the facilitator of the meeting to be, I didn't feel comfortable weighing in as I did, and I don't feel comfortable then making.
Well, that's why I asked the question. So why don't we move to leave it in and follow up on it, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, there's two choices,
Right.
paint it red and follow up or vote to leave it in.
Oh, I meant the paint of red, sorry.
Despite the score.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a
Yeah.
question of, do we feel, first question is, do we have enough information?
Mhm.
I think we do.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
then,
black and white.
at the HCC, we ask for a view if no one wants to deal with it at that meeting.
Yeah.
But I don't know that this is a view, like, this is something we can make a decision and we're all adults and, it's gonna go to an out year, so it's not like if it doesn't get passed, voted. I'm happy to vote it in or out, but for the current year, but let's do something.
Mhm.
Is my perspective.
Does anybody have a strong opinion on this, one way or another, to change it?
No, I would say. leave
I'm
it as
okay
is.
with supporting staff with their duties.
Right.
I just have never seen. I don't want to just say yes to every single request that comes in. I have to have some measure.
Like,
Right.
To gotta have some measure, so as we all do, but this is just one that doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
Extremely important for me. I think it's something that I don't think they do so that's
so
my,
you're good with it falling out?
I'm okay with it falling out.
Yeah.
Apparently the group is based on the score. I mean,
Yeah,
Uh,
that's, so then we should. just
no action
let
is
it
an
be what it
action,
is.
so let it be what it is. And
Yeah,
And then the other just comment is, we also anticipated that they had 2 dump trucks being requested, and those have been moved to out years.
Okay.
So they have vehicles that are not gonna be in contention for approvals. And that may have changed their perspective on the utility of this vehicle, because obviously it's more than it's more than a single use vehicle.
Yeah.
So I would suggest at this point that we put it down for additional information and we get a clarification from the department head as to the importance of this vehicle relative to the other 2 being pushed out.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's
Is
fine.
that
Does
fair?
that indicate it's more of a priority?
Yeah, because we don't know at this point.
which is unfortunate, because when they had the chance to prioritize them from 1 to 10, they kind of spoke to the fact that they couldn't.
Right, and this may have been something that they would have addressed when they came back. But we didn't, my understanding was they were gonna present a supplemental vehicle and it would be like a 3-5 minute conversation, not a revisit of the topic of the fleet and all the incidental discussion that comes up in relation. So we didn't have time for that with the airport here. So we're gonna ask for priority. And that'll be in light of.
I mean, yeah, and if we're asking anything, maybe how many calls did they make into the field last year with their 2017 service trucks?
Yeah, but it also says we haven't used this truck in the last several years.
Well, then.
So two thousand 17 hasn't been working since 2021.
And they didn't use it for any site
I
repairs.
just don't think it's, but I'm also convincible if there's a good argument, so.
Do they even have the staff, the question I would ask, do they
Staff
even have a
expertise.
staff person?
Yeah.
To utilize this vehicle.
Well, that's why I wonder if they.
Yeah.
Had a vehicle they could have used last year, how many times did they use it? Or are they just replacing it because now it's old and they need a new one?
And Stephen, where you're typing that is not the same.
I know, I'm
place.
gonna
Yeah, yeah, okay,
combine
right,
the
just,
three of them.
Jesus.
Thank you.
Yep.
Cause I'm just gonna do this. Alex.
I got a hard stop in a few minutes, I'm sorry.
All right, well, we did plan.
Yeah,
We did plan
2:15,
2
I've got
hours.
to big feet to be elsewhere. I know, can I say? Can only divide my time so far. Unless you figured out the cloning sequence yet.
I don't know if that's gonna help.
Can you put that on the list there to get a?
You need a
cloning?
plan.
That's
I
not.
don't think you want.
Okay, turf maintenance equipment replacement.
I think that was you.
What was it?
Turf
I'm gonna pull that.
You're gonna pull it, what do you mean?
Pull the request, or pull the,
Take the X away.
Like the excellent, yeah.
You're doing a unilateral.
The backhoe replacement,
oh, tough one. They probably
It's
needed
so
it, just
close.
didn't score well, you know?
It's
It's a lot of
just,
these other-
I mean, it's a little bit of specialized equipment. You know. Don't wanna hinder their
1.5
process,
more,
yeah.
How much was it off?
1.4.
It's 150,000.
We should- I mean, it seems like. We want to know, we would like them to convince us that it's really important to them.
Well-
I do think Stephen's point about the DPW has been the poor stepchild of
Hmm.
equipment.
Them and a few
Their,
other,
their
them
priorities.
and
are
a
their
few other
priorities.
departments I
They
can think
set
of.
the priority, medium, low, medium.
Yeah.
If it was really imminent, and
So,
they did thankfully put everything together in that list, which was really helpful.
Yeah.
And I ended up scoring things a lot higher because they did that.
Yeah.
I think they're relatively modest. in the way that they
Mm.
ran.
I do too. I gave them what they, I mean, I think.
They're
that's-
probably
I think they
accurate.
wanted.
Yeah, I do respect that. I don't read into the priorities as much, but. You know, but, I mean, low priority, it's kind of like an elective. You know,
Sue, can you comment on the prioritization in the system? Is that determined by the department head, or is that determined by the town manager? I don't
It's,
recall.
it's determined by the department head when they first entered into Plum. You know, sometimes I think they don't really mark it correctly, and then we change them as we go along, and they, you know, either I get feedback or the town administration gives feedback, and then we change the priority. I believe all of those are now, the vehicles are all marked as high in Plum because we updated a bunch of them after our meeting with the other day. And I also wanted to clarify, there have not been 2 vehicles moved out into future years. The only vehicle that was moved was the utility van, and that was moved to 26. All the other vehicles.
yeah,
are
that's right, that's right.
Oh, right. So Sue, thank you. I appreciate that, because the dump truck and the facilities dump truck replacement were in the capital review report. So that was the question you answered earlier. So these are in, so I stand corrected. I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
that those
Okay.
are,
So that doesn't.
Okay.
impact
and they are ranked. We just don't have the numbers in
Is
front of
this
us.
one called new loader backhoe prioritization?
No,
This
it's
is
cat,
marked.
cat
Pluto.
420,
This is the cat?
Back home.
cat 420.
So I'm gonna just, okay, let's just do this. We're gonna pull up the dump truck.
That's medium recommended.
Right, okay, so the Rory on that. Group Rory on that was 66.6.
On the dump truck.
So funny, we as a group gave it an average of 30 for high priority, despite the fact that they only did it as medium, which
Mhm.
to me makes sense, because I mean, I personally gave them some high priority because I thought that it's probably higher than they were actually giving it merit to be.
Right,
Person.
Steve, can I just say something to the,
Yep, no, I
The
just wanted
priorities?
to give it,
Yeah.
we didn't have it up there on the screen.
I think with the priorities, we gotta just be careful what we wish for, because if everyone says high.
Yeah.
It's gonna make it really difficult. We're gonna still have to, you still have to pick out equipment and requests for their merit.
Right.
And I get it, you know, depending what they say, you know, but. You know, I do value that we do have a variation with these priorities.
Mhm.
It's just that they gave us, because anyone could just shoot high and say everything's
But
high,
to your
but that makes
point-
it difficult.
To your point, even if they say high, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to give them credit for high.
Correct.
You could say, well, I don't necessarily agree that it's to preserve necessary function.
True.
You know, just because they say it doesn't mean that you have to score it that way.
So
True, but it makes it more difficult. I'd rather look,
Yes.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not
sorry.
taking us back. They're all good
Anyway.
points. The programmatic answer to that is high, medium, low are defined. The priority that they should be using tracks what our continuity A group is, which is it preserves, it's required, it's recommended, or it's elective. Or it preserves necessary function, or it prevents degradation, or it enhances though is not required. So how that's implemented by the department head is, you know, something we can look at.
Yeah.
To make sure that they're using those grading criteria. Number one, and then number two is, I think that these are both ranked above our standard deviation. So I think we should be, one way or the other, we should be consistent. If they're above it and everything's going in the hopper,
They're in.
The dump truck and the facilities dump truck?
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we're
just-
talking
just
about
to be
those.
clear for-
They're in.
We're still talking about the backhoe,
Oh,
I thought, right?
We were, and then we've, I think.
no,
we kinda
I just
jumped
moved into a
around.
general
Well,
priority
Then yes, yeah.
thought.
yeah.
That's what I guess, did we
That's
make
why
a
I asked
determination?
that question, because the backhoe, the loader backhoe is rated high, I think.
No, it's still a medium. Well, maybe the loader backhoe,
No,
the
it's-
Cat 40 backhoe that we're looking at up
Oh.
here is a medium on plum.
Right, that's true.
And that's the one that I think we left off at, the 51.5.
So what would we like to do with it? Someone want to make a motion? I'm just gonna start doing motions.
Yeah. I'd motion to approve it for this year, despite the fact it was 1.5 below.
Okay,
And I'd second that.
all right, any opposed? Here's unanimously. Okay,
Okay.
Uh,
Doing it that way. Okay.
Kubota tractor replacement.
Yeah, can I interject for just a moment? I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
please, Sue, go ahead.
Noah's in the waiting room. Could you let him in, please, when you have a moment?
No,
We should invite him to Capcom next year.
if I can see where he is.
Yeah, he's
Good attendance.
Yeah. Good attendance.
One down, one down.
No, participants, go to participants.
Yeah,
No, more, and then participants all the way at the top,
Ah,
there you go.
and that will show him,
Waiting.
there you, oh, Jamie.
I don't see him. I can't see him on my.
this is about a Bobcat, Noah.
I don't even see him on there.
No, no, he's gone. Okay, yeah, that actually, if that was Jamie, that one had been there for a while, I thought. But,
I believe Jamie is on, so
all right, if you guys at airport have anything you'd like to chime in on, you're more than welcome, just please raise a hand, otherwise we're just gonna proceed. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, so when he logs in, it shows up as my name because the Zoom is under my name.
Ah, that's why you're
So-
here.
Yeah, now he's in by the looks.
There we
Okay.
go.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome back.
All right, so we're back to our regularly scheduled events. Break out the popcorn, people. We're back to the Kubota tractor. That was in, the dump trucks are both in. I'll fill in the road evaluations. DPW design facility, that is not gonna be discussed today. We're down to the climate action plan. And, why don't we just do that one? We got, just on the meeting time, we've got more than, I'd say.
Yeah, you'll excuse me.
See you, man.
See you.
All right, Barry, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I have to leave.
Climate action plan,
Is there money for this?
It looks
You
like,
know,
Thanks.
This, climate action plan?
yeah,
Well, they're saying,
take it. Let's see.
you mean like other funding?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Is there or matching funding or anything like that?
I have no idea.
plan.
Ah,
Climate action plan.
it was ranked high.
Nothing about funding. Nothing about grant funding. It's a $250 ask.
Does Sue know anything about whether this is matching?
Sue,
No,
do you know if
I don't
there's
think so.
any potential grant money lined up with this, or is this the line up potential grant money?
Housing challenge?
I do not know, but I do have the answer to the other one when you move back to that one.
I will take answers all day long.
Okay, well, that's great, because I'm emailing people and texting while we're going through them. The question on the CPC grant.
Yes,
That has been applied for. They have not gotten word yet.
okay, and is this project contingent on the CPC grant?
Well, we don't fund it.
That I will find that one out.
Okay,
Regarding the mechanics truck. They have 2 mechanics, 1 fleet manager, and just got approved to hire another mechanic in FY25. That's the only vehicle they share, and the current one is 2 halves of the truck they put together and includes none of the equipment that it should have. Best I can give you.
They probably put a utility body on it.
Yeah, yeah, from one.
That's what they did.
it looks more like.
I would
that's-
move to include it.
So, we got a motion on the DPW mechanics truck replacement. Any opposed?
I'll oppose.
Okay, so.
I'm gonna be opposed until they get a facility to put it indoors.
Okay,
Anyway.
well,
I'll oppose it.
all right, fair enough.
I'm just not there yet.
Everybody gets their vote, you get
Yeah.
your voice, stick around long enough to get a chance to talk on the topic.
CPC is gonna do a second round of deliberations on the 14th on all applications.
Okay. All right, so that one is in. Let's see, we're back down to climate action plan. This is being funded out of free cash, it's indicated as a high priority.
Can I read something?
Yes, please.
It says if new to capital improvement plan, this plan is to be developed as the start of the town's sustainability program. It will fuel other projects on the CIP in the design phase to help minimize the town's environmental impact. It's a multi-year request.
Climate action plan.
Yeah, so it's broad. The net zero, there is a comment, I'm gonna comment on this if no one else is gonna comment. There is a portion of this that is to develop and implement net zero. I just want to say the goal, the timeline to implement net zero is being accelerated beyond any reasonable measure. The logistics, the resources are not available to make it happen as quickly, and it is creating severe financial hardship for people. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I don't think that you throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
But I just think that it needs to be developed. I believe it needs to be developed. I believe it needs to be a priority. I just think it needs to be done on, there needs to be more reasonable timelines associated with those things.
Can I read one other sentence?
Yeah,
That might be helpful, just as far as, says the town is experiencing many impacts directly related to development pressures, climate change, surging peak load, energy growth, and affordable housing challenges. So that'll just sort of kind of frame it a little bit.
Okay. Any comments from anyone?
It's sort of broad and amorphous to me a little bit, like it's trying to, I don't.
A lot of.
Like you might like it if it was more explicitly designated to particular use.
No, I guess it just, I don't know, I can't, it just, I guess it's just instinctual. The other one resonated more, just the language around it resonated more than this one for whatever reason.
I mean, this covers a lot of ground with, and I don't really know that the dollars, how that works. In terms of how For me, I would prefer to have this like broken up into separate plans. That kind of deal with matters, subcategories that relate to one another. And address those, kind of prioritize those as a community,
Yeah,
as opposed to. Putting these out there as, okay, this is all we're gonna deal with, and not being able to develop it more deeply. I don't know, I'm just having some problems
it
processing.
seems like a slush fund sort of thing. You know, it's not,
I think they're trying to get started, but the question is, how far are they gonna go developing each of these before it becomes a rabbit hole? Christie.
I was just gonna ask through you to Brooke, is this like? Anything that's come across the select boards, sort of, like, do you guys, something's discussed?
So something just popped into my head, which is Vince Murphy's job description. Which is, he's a sustainability coordinator for the town, right? So. His job is to figure out the intersection of all of the pieces in sustainability, and I think that's what this is trying to do.
Probably,
It's trying to figure out,
he's on that.
rather than siloing. The efforts as described, it's really about looking at the whole. And how they intersect with each other is now how I'm understanding the broad, like. And I think Vince gave me his job description like 6 months ago, and I looked at it, and I was like, whoa, he is really meant to be connecting everywhere on this, sustainability and. So,
Climate action plan might be the wrong name for it. then.
right, exactly.
Sounds like it's sort of a little
It's more like a
deceiving.
sustainability plan, yeah.
Yeah,
Of sorts.
it's more like a management plan. Really, I mean, it's a program management plan, because this is talking about, these are gonna be individually. In one way or another, fashion or another, these are gonna become projects.
Yeah.
And it's about. Determining which projects, and then I presume writing a report on it and providing, some direction, maybe. Which of these get grant money, I mean, there's a variety of paths this could take. The only concept I'm having difficulty with is. I don't think it's amorphous, but it could be, and it's just so broad. That without direct policy determinations by the select board on these separate categories. On what depth and breadth of avenue to pursue, what is the money gonna go to?
Chicken and an egg.
Yeah,
Do we need
Okay,
this
yeah.
to tell us what to prioritize?
which is why,
It's kind of, that's why I'm kind of saying, okay, maybe we really do need, I mean, I'm all about like holistic thinking and system building and collaboration. Just in other stuff that I work on, so I sort of, it's starting to feel more valuable to me as I talk about it out loud.
and that's why it's so valuable to have a liaison, because now we can get some direct input.
I can get some clarification from Vince if you thought that would be.
Yeah, I think maybe hold it for more information, and
Yeah.
we can ask Vince if my interpretation of this is accurate, because I'm extrapolating from their language.
Okay, I think that's fair. I mean, it's a relatively small dollar amount, not that it's not anything, but it's an important one, and I think it'd be good for us to have.
It could make a huge difference in terms of progress
Yeah.
with his position, so.
Okay. Folgers Marsh Bridge. I clicked this one. I didn't do the math on this, but the burn rate for the scope of the project is astronomical. I mean, wait a minute, 1.2. Where did I see $21 million? I swear I saw it.
This was planning
That's the
money,
one,
right?
the one in the point,
Yeah, I could have swore I
Point?
saw,
0.21 million.
maybe it was
this is
that
1.2.
3 in the morning.
This is design and permitting, the construction in an out year
Okay, let me open this up.
is 1.2 million. No, it's 1.2 million.
Yeah, so in the CRP, the planning estimate cost of converting the culvert to a bridge at Boulders Marsh is $21 million.
Right, with this being the design and permitting piece, 1.2.
And for me, the idea that work would cost $21 million, I'm having a difficult time with it. You could be out there for 200 days, burning $100,000 a day. And I don't see, I mean, I'm doing contractor math here. You could be, if the scope to my mind doesn't represent a burn rate of $100,000 a day for 200 days. Like you can't put those resources in that area within that time frame, and it wouldn't last that long. And I may be missing something, but I would like to get some clarification on the cost. Because frankly, if that's what the estimate is, I'm just wondering if we need to come up with a different solution.
Well, this is the
Yeah.
alternative to $45 million at Saskatchewan Causeway,
Well, that's,
according to the
well, and
narrative.
that's the Saskatchewan Causeway was another one where the contractor math doesn't make sense. Because you can't put $45 million. I mean, you double it, you put 210,000 in for 200 days, like you can't invest $210,000 into that small of an area. When you look at the materials cost, the labor costs, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, we could, the other side of this is, and when I say, you know, a different solution is like, look at the bridge itself. For $21 million, we could hire 2 town engineers with benefits. We could buy 3 houses. We could buy we could hire specialized labor for probably 5 years and buy the materials if we could find those people. So for me, there's just a problem with the math, and when I'm backing out and trying to look at it from different perspectives, I'm having difficulty with it.
Yeah.
Christie, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, a little bit of support for this. We gotta get used to these numbers, because this is what is gonna rear itself in coastal resiliency 100%. So we gotta get used to these. With that said, this is one particular project that, I think over the next 6 years will rear itself. And I think this is one of those coastal resiliency projects that we can do sooner than later, because yeah, if you're looking at a $20 million bridge, that 20 million isn't to sort of just redo what's there. It's to build it with coastal resiliency in mind. That whole area would raise up. They'd probably do fans underneath, meaning blades, so that water could run into the wetland behind it. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I think that in 10 years, that's going to be a $35 million bridge. So I'm trying to think of things that we can do sooner for coastal resiliency that will last another 50 years. And I think this is one of those projects that because later on, the more we get further out with more significant issues, coastal resiliency wise, it'd be nice to have some stuff already done. And I think this is one of them. And this is also, I mean, this is a portal. This is a roadway, a vital roadway for, public safety. So you do want to protect that access as well. But that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah,
That's just
actually Jill first and then Howard.
I don't understand, like, how is that a priority over other things for Committee? I mean, you asked us for the money for the climate change. I heard you on that for the coastal resiliency plan. Why wouldn't the coastal resiliency plan or the crack committee, is this identified in their plan as something to do? Has anyone identified it other than that department?
Well, I mean, department's been working on a bunch of coastal resiliency stuff. So this is not just the first thing. This is,
No, I know, I'm just
yeah,
asking, like, this is what they proposed out of a department, but you're also asking for money to identify projects, and I'm just wondering, like, is it worth at least waiting to see if the money that we're encouraging for the coastal resiliency plan would identify this project at, like, when they scale them and say, what's a priority? I mean, what I heard you say, and I'm just being honest.
yeah.
Is you're positive there's gonna be a storm and wipe that bridge out in the next 6 years. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
I don't think it's gonna wipe the bridge out. I think it's gonna hinder access,
Right. Yeah,
because it already has.
gotcha.
It already has. That's all I'm saying. But
I got you.
even Jill, even if that's, if I may, but even with the infrequency of what could hinder access, I think this eventually is a project that we're gonna have to do anyway, 100%. And all I'm worried about is I'd rather spend the time now to do it.
Yeah.
And not do it in 10 or 15 years, when say we really, really need it, and it'd be $35 to $40 million. Because at that time, we're gonna be funding a bunch of other coastal resiliency stuff. So that's all I'm saying. Yeah, I'm just saying,
To me, it just seems like it's an interesting one because I guess when you guys say coastal resiliency, Folgers on Bridge is not the first thing that pops into my mind is, you know.
well, it's on
But
the
it's
coastal resiliency
doable.
plan. It's on the plan as a sort of a high impact area as coastal resiliency rears itself, whether in 5 years or 30.
And the CRP does make prioritization recommendations. That's already happened. They are, the original CRP is already,
And this is identified in that.
I'm looking through it right now.
So does it
Is
have
that,
what that
that kind of
priority
gets to
is?
the job of the
CRP?
question. Howard?
So
I don't want to spend 20 million on it. Sorry.
No, I
You
don't
know,
want to just anyone.
I'm the
wants
same
to.
way, but
Yeah, I just.
I don't like
So-
spending
so
more.
I'm kind of, first of all, of the mind that you are. I mean, you have to start these projects somewhere. They're all gonna be backing up. If you don't do them, then you're gonna end up with a huge cliff later. So, but my point that I wanted to raise is, I rated this really high. I think it's really important. And I just wondered, anybody that rated it low, why you guys rated it so low? To bring the average down.
Well, I'll show you.
I mean, just looking at mine, because it doesn't seem like we don't do it this year, it's going to jeopardize that necessary function for next year.
Good answer.
That's simple. And if that's 35% of the total score for my overall Rory, it just didn't tick that off. And I just, if I look at it and say, if we don't do it this year, is it gonna still function next year? Despite the fact that you think that there's a 1 in 6 chance that we get a storm that's gonna wipe it out next year, I don't necessarily put as much weight into that, the probability that
Then I'm voting for it.
I don't, listen,
The storm.
you guys, I don't think a storm's gonna wipe it out either. I'm trying to pre-plan and not be reactive.
Couldn't you say that about almost every coastal resiliency project that is being discussed by crack right now in
Yeah.
CRP? So should we do them all this year?
No.
Okay.
No, because the whole idea is to not do them either all now or all in 30 years. The idea is to do them along the way so that when things do get gnarly,
Get that.
we're prepared.
So I want to go back to, and not to be pointed, but to make a point. We
gotta
looked
keep
at
moving.
the mechanics truck. And that was ranked medium. And this is ranked medium. And the mechanics truck was rated below by less than this is. So I just think we need, consistency is an important aspect of what we're doing. I do recognize and appreciate the comments that are being made about, in essence, $1 spent today is $10 saved in 7 years. Like, I get that. I was, being a little dramatic but just to give you the basic math that probably 60% of the people on this island use, because it's contractor math, because we're involved in contracting, and
Yeah.
you go and you look at a job and you determine how many people and what kind of resources and a cost for the materials. And then you have a reasonable number and you can determine whether it's something you want to get involved in and do all the detail work on. Using that type of an approach to math, this is astronomically high. And I think the point I'm really trying to make is, one, it's high. And two, the community is to be successful in addressing the astronomical costs that we are facing as an island. There needs to be and hopefully it's in one of these studies, $250,000 or $100,000, whatever it is, an educational program, because people see these numbers and they're not going to vote for them at all. Many people, I think.
Yeah.
Because along the lines of what Jill said, this doesn't resonate as one of the more important projects.
Yeah.
So, and I think from my perspective, and Brooke, I'll get you. I feel a responsibility to be advancing projects with positive recommendations that I don't think the litmus test is it going to pass at town meeting? Or is it going to pass at the ballot? But I do think that there's an aspect of, is it relevant? Is it like something that needs to be done in the next fiscal year, which is one of our underlying tenets. Or can it be? Is really our tenet, but,
Yeah.
so anyways, Brooke, please, now
So-
we'll move on.
A $1.2 million investment in design. Doesn't mean we have to spend $21 million tomorrow, right? It's having a shovel-ready design. On the shelf. That's one argument. The other counter argument is in the CRP. It's ranked as target implementation date 2035. So it was not identified as one of the highest priority projects.
And
In the CRP.
That scores aren't correct.
So
Yeah.
this may be, let's put this on the Capcom's radar situation and,
No.
Yeah, I just like the project, you know, I'm not like,
No, I get what you're saying.
I'm also not like, we have to do this.
yeah,
Like, we gotta do it now. I just think it's a good project to do early on as far as coastal resiliency
So,
and good planning for the island. That's all.
and Peter, I think.
Mm.
wants to say something.
so I would suggest we hold. To answer the following question, why did it get put on this year when it was at 2035 in the CRP?
Because they're looking, I mean, part of what we're trying to do is. Instill the culture of
Asking
doing this
early.
work in advance, scheduled replacement, planning in advance, doing your studies in advance. Peter, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I just, maybe more point of order, so I guess I'm unsure, so. If somebody makes a motion, can we vote all in favor, all opposed, and just use that as a litmus test to either.
Yeah,
Accept it, deny it, and move forward, because to Christie's point, if he likes something that's under and maybe somebody else does enough that they'll vote for it. Let's let that be known, let's let it be
Yeah.
known who's not, and let's
Move on.
let it be. And I mean, I don't think that rubs anyone the wrong way, and if it does,
no, I
I don't wanna do it.
Sure.
But I mean, I feel like that's how we've done in the past, just everyone speaks their mind,
Yeah.
everyone says why they like it, why they don't, why they agree, why they don't.
I'm trying to be more
Yeah.
inclusive.
Well,
When this, listen,
But
when
even
this
just
comes
like
up
as
in
opposed to-
2035, I'm gonna vote for it.
yeah, as opposed to Barry
And you're
being the
gonna
one
say-
person that,
Yeah,
you know.
for 21 million.
I might.
So, I think, Peter, I'll entertain your motion in a second. I do want to plan an anchor, so we're going back to contractor math. For $1 million, we could hire 3 engineers for a year. And we could use that leftover money, whatever it is, towards underwriting year-round leases. Like this seems to me like I'm trying to probe into a bigger issue and concern here is the professional resources and how we're spending money. And I'm using this as the example. And I think we as a community need to develop an avenue that we can tap into more readily professional services that we hire, even if it's on an interim basis, as opposed to sending it out to a consultant. Because if we can hire 3 engineers to design this, cover all our costs, and have another, 300,000 or more, probably more left over for other uses, because we didn't authorize it for this use. And I'm using this as an example because it's a smaller number, it's a smaller project, but if you start to think about the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to be spent on some of these projects, cumulatively, smaller projects. I'm not suggesting we have, we go out and try and hire people to fix, to develop a $100 million, $200 million capital project. There's scale issues that come into that. But smaller projects, it may be something. So anyways, Peter, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, one last just question before, so Columar, is that the yes in Columar? What is that? That's not legal requirement, right?
Right.
Columar
Oh,
next to
Imminent threat.
priority,
Imminent threat.
imminent
Imminent
threat,
threat.
okay, interesting. So they have it as an imminent threat, but not as a high priority.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there. Yeah, I'll make a motion to, I guess, leave it out of the hopper, having ranked below the standard deviation limit. How are you gonna write it?
So that would be coming out, your motion would be to move to an out year.
Sure, yeah.
Fair?
Yeah. I mean, it would seem to me that somebody would motion to include it for this year, but I'll do the opposite. To move it to an out year, which It
All
is
right.
based on.
Fair enough. No, on, the motion, any opposed? Okay, that carries
I'll post, yeah,
unanimous.
I'll post.
One opposed.
And no, we don't need a second or anything like that.
Okay.
Steve, I got a question.
Yeah, please.
I mean,
Yes.
what's
I shouldn't
our
be motioning because my motion.
role is saying moving to an out year? What if the department doesn't
to
bring it back?
include it,
Like,
right?
can we really do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
Because I'm just motioning.
Christie has an interesting question, and it's, what is in essence the effect of our recommendation versus the department head's wants and needs? That question would be answered by the town manager.
Got it.
And ultimately, not answered, but it would be addressed through the town manager and the select board. So let's say this was a high priority and Capcom recommended no. Then ours is one recommendation of three, really.
Yeah,
Town manager
yeah.
and FinCom. Yeah.
I guess it's a measure of sort of where we are. It's a measure, we're not opposed, but it's sort of,
Christie, I don't think it's the last bite of the apple either. If ultimately it moves to the process and some department head just feels really strong, they go to Libya and they make a case.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Right?
fine with it. I'm fine with it.
No,
Yeah, I value different opinions. I mean, I'm fine with it.
I think it was,
Yeah.
it's a good question
I-
for us to understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick, so on that process of voting to actually come up with, a decision. I mean, technically, if I didn't make a motion, it would have stayed as was and not have been
No,
accepted. right?
I wasn't gonna move on. Oh,
No, so if I didn't make a motion and nobody made a motion to
yes,
include it in this year,
Yeah.
then it would have just been the same result as my motion,
It
correct?
would
So
help us move on.
technically, if we're looking at ones that are below, should somebody be making a motion to approve it? Since by the nature of our,
well,
process,
thankfully,
it
we're
wouldn't be
not,
approved?
I mean, we don't have to come up with a positive motion, it doesn't have to go to the attorney general for approval and then printing in the code. But
it just seems weird that we voted on what would be the ultimate outcome.
yeah,
anyway, even though
I
we did
use
anything
the
separate.
vote, the motion and the vote to definitively wrap up the conversation as opposed to, we could have just moved on to the next one.
Yeah,
Because it's under and therefore it's not gonna be an offer.
well, I just don't know if I wanna
One
have my
last-
name on the motion to not do a project.
But you didn't do that. You just motioned and consider it at a later time.
Yeah,
Would that give, I mean, have you ever, I can't remember, weighed in something that we may recommend as an out year as a component of the final report and say, these are ones that we voted on, but maybe we'd like to see it come back with a little more,
yeah, we can add that to our recommendation.
I have some notes on that, that when we get to it, I think we'll,
Okay.
if I remember to clean it
All
up, it would get in there.
Okay,
Are we technically recommending all these for an out year if we don't approve them?
yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, they're all, we're not just saying don't bring it back, we're just saying we're not approving it this year.
Right.
yeah.
all right, I'm gonna
That's true,
move us forward.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, environmental justice,
Speed round.
assessment and policy.
So
Go ahead, Brooke.
my only comment here is I recall very specifically that this is becoming a necessary component of grant applications,
Yeah.
that we have done this. And so if by not doing this, we are potentially precluding our ability to get grants.
Yeah, and if I can kind of add to that based upon interactions with Jeff Carlson, when your liaisons, Peter and I met with him. This is gonna help them identify which projects, which types of projects, so on and so forth. And then how to proceed in order to capture not only the grant money, but the utility for the community members who it will serve. So it's a really relatively small dollar amount.
Yeah.
So I would seek a motion. Well, we don't, this one, we want a motion if we want to move it forward.
I'm gonna move to include it.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. So this is gonna be,
Can I ask that you specify what project when you're making the
oh,
motion?
sure, so we're on, environmental justice assessment and policy, HMP
Are you sharing your
24-006.
Thank you. I can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry,
You're not sure.
yes. Yes, I was.
Yes, I was not.
No, yes, I was not sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Correct.
Wow, that's not fair to sue.
Well, I didn't do it so Sue
Or
could see
you
it.
personally did it for her.
I did it, Sue, I didn't want you to see what we were working on.
Should be in
The problem is I've been going back and forth trying to get information on some of them and I missed that one that you moved out to FY 26. So
Okay, oh, yeah, you're not gonna see them all on the screen, but I'll,
Is it sharing screen?
As long as you send it to me after the meeting, it's fine.
all right, well, I mean, we'll pull it up. Part of it was screen management. At one point I was sharing it and I couldn't get the gallery. to
So you
show up.
say.
So I said. Okay, we're on to. The one we moved to 26 was HMP 24-004. There will be others that were below the standard deviation that are gonna move out.
Have just for something we've done, have we already approved any that were below? Cause I think if you scroll up, we might have missed one or two that we decided to include that aren't marked as a yes.
So
No,
I think
the one we move forward.
was that one,
is a
okay.
5-2.
And then the other two are
These
just
two
more
were-
information, and then all the others are left off.
And then these will be for out years.
Got it, okay,
Did you write out yours?
No, because it's,
assumed.
it'll be implicit when I fill out the,
Got it.
it's. This is gonna be additional information. This one I did out here because we actually voted on it. This is the environmental justice. We're gonna be carrying it here, which is contrary to the standard. Town employee housing feasibility study.
It's feasibility design, that there are a lot more words in there. It's not just a feasibility study.
And permitting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh.
it is, the original request came through for the Tacoma lots. To be honest with you, I don't know why it was broadened in its scope. I don't have an answer to that, but what I can tell you is, if we're not doing this, we're in trouble.
So,
With,
Town employees, staffing, we are, our ability to do all the other things on this list that we're saying we want to invest in will be compromised.
But
well,
it's
the
included.
good thing is,
It
we
is.
we all
but
rated it
somebody put
high.
an X.
Oh,
So
I think we
why did
wanted,
you say you
I think we wanted the
wanted-
clarification on the
The
name
title.
change
Yeah.
and what in the.
Yeah,
that was,
and I don't know, but I suspect, and I
If you don't know, no one knows, bro.
Exactly.
You actually asked. You. I
No,
believe
Christie
you-
did.
Oh, I thought
I
you-
did, I wanted,
He asked because he wanted to ask me if I
Oh,
knew.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, I knew that you would come
And-
up at some point in that.
I was curious, cause I believe the you had something along the lines that it could be reappropriated for other efforts if
To do it in a
Tacoma
different location.
doesn't move forward.
not just Tacoma.
Right,
I would feel
So,
more comfortable
broadened.
personally getting, I'm no issue supporting the housing.
Yeah.
Especially if we're hiring engineers,
okay,
Three of them.
but. The idea, I would like to get some clarity on, like, update the introduction and have it, because it's. The project originally came in for a particular area with a particular scope.
Yep.
We asked for additional information to break down a summary of costs, like we asked for the airport. I just think it'd be consistent to get that. I'm not suggesting that as a way to delay it or a way to shoot it down. I just think as a matter of procedure.
Got a nice thing.
so
Housing
read
director
for
that
more
could.
information and I will ask.
Yeah. Okay, that brings us to Millen. I took the X out of the Millen overlay parking lots and airport. I didn't intend to. I'm not gonna make the motion, but can I get a motion to move this into current year
So
on Jill's motion? Any opposed?
No.
Yeah.
So this will be a yes.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry, I do agree, but it's not necessary now. It's not, you know, it's not a high priority. The pavement's fine. It just needs to be done sometime.
Right. I'm fine with moving. I wanted to,
he
I
won't
asked,
necessarily do it, he just wants to, if
Yeah.
he can, he will.
and if they can get out of their way, they will.
Yeah.
And
I would move into another year. It's not important right now.
did you vote no?
So you can
Yeah.
vote no.
I did, but I'm just trying
Gotcha.
to say to you guys, I don't know why you voted
It's
yes.
too late.
Too late.
Because I'll tell you why, I'll tell you why. Because the airport,
There you go.
Wait, Jill's got the floor.
Go ahead.
the airport is a huge source of revenue, and so are the rental cars. And there's a lot of use out there. And so if they think they need that for their customers, which is, you know, all of us and everybody here in the summer, like, that's a really important business for them.
It is, but
And he's not gonna do it just willy-nilly, he's gonna do it if he needs to do it, if it fits in.
Yeah, and the reason I asked for a motion is along those lines and having viewed it. And then also knowing that I know the dollar amounts for the housing were a big question mark. But to me, airport is typically extremely diligent and tight when it comes to actually implementing on their costs and implementation. So for a relatively small project that has a forward, a front face to the community and the airport, it seemed like it would be something worth
Good value
pursuing.
for money.
Then just,
First of all,
just the
there's no value
rationale.
there because it is not gonna impact one way or another the revenues that they earn or discourage revenues from being earned.
Oh,
Because it doesn't impact productivity. Now, let me finish for
Yeah.
a second.
hearing you.
They have.
Howard for the minutes, by the way.
They have retained earnings.
Yeah.
You know what? And they're an enterprise fund.
But Howard, they still
But they
need
still
to
have
get
to-
approval for a capital
They can
expenditure.
do it as an operating expense.
Not big.
Yeah. I mean, technically, it meets the threshold that's under
50,000.
Isn't it 400,000?
50 has to come through Capcom.
It's for.
Oh, yeah, sorry, 400.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they need to get, in order for it to even use retained earnings, they need to get capital program.
Unless it's
committee
an operating expense. right?
approval. Well, it wouldn't qualify because it's over $50,000
Yeah.
and it's an infrastructure improvement.
Yeah.
So they need this approval in order to pursue it, even on retained earnings. All other matters aside, just process wise clear. Jill,
I just have the
Christie,
same
another-
thing about paving roads here. We look like we hate ourselves sometimes with how bad the roads are paved, and it's not because that they don't always want to do it, sometimes they just can't, but we are a tourist economy, and I think it really says something if things kind of aren't looking up to snuff, like, why do you come here and spend a lot of money and we don't pave our roads, like, I just feel like on principle, I'm usually for paving roads.
okay, I want to remind you guys, we did vote to move it forward. It's a preliminary.
Okay.
Christie, do you want to?
No, I was just, well, I had asked them because seems like every 2 years, something comes up with that lot. If they think what Noah said, if they think they're on a track to where they've got it more under control in the financing and the layout, then if they need to, fine tune it, then I think this is a fine
Oh,
tuning.
it's already voted on, so we should.
Yeah.
Okay,
to that point, real quick, maybe if we just,
Peter,
maybe just have a further discussion before the actual vote, because that happened pretty quick and it sounds like you had some.
Yeah, I
items to
don't-
Speak of, but I know,
Yeah.
just for, but I think developments recently with that parking lot. Ride shares going through the middle of it directly on this part that's being paved. I'm sure the amount of traffic that. Traverses that small section that cut across has probably doubled with ride shares in the last year. And it just seems like they're funneling more and more pickup directly through that little area, so.
I mean, I'm not gonna
Just-
speak for them. It
Sorry,
just seemed
go.
like it got tagged as a medium because it's not of the highest priority.
Yeah.
And
People would still be able to drive through.
airport tends to be very good about using. Absolutely required, or it's, it's not an elective, is what I'm saying,
Mhm.
and it preserves necessary.
It's
function.
not fair for me to belabor this anymore. You
Yeah,
guys-
no, it's fine. I mean, we're talking about it. So I
Appreciate
wanna
your
get it out. Okay, let's move on. We are to. Just looking at something I wanted to ask you later. New playground facility at Northern. Fields. That. So Sue, this one didn't, the question I had was, there isn't a funding recommendation. In the Capcom review, and it may have crossed with your work.
I'm sorry, which one are we on? Surfside?
We're under Parks
Oh.
24-002.
Is that? Oh, so yes, that should be, that is still a project active for fiscal 25. I just during the meeting the other day and the funding source did not capture that one. So that will be coming from free cash. We made that.
Free cash.
Yes, so that is an active project.
Okay, so that's the question I had. Does anyone have a motion one way or the other on this? You want to discuss it? I should have said that in reverse.
Yeah,
I am trying to
Of the-
facilitate it.
Playground.
Oh, I don't think I was an advocate of it, like, not. He has as a low priority. I ranked it high personally, just because I do think it's nice for some of the younger kids who are hanging out there to
Yeah.
have something to do. It's a big place. There's a lot of cars. It's getting busier and even more used. But, you know,
Yeah,
can it wait? I could, but I will make a larger point when I look at all these things, when we're looking at them, I don't see a lot of things here for youth.
Yeah.
I see the jetties course, that's really for summer use. It's not helping, you know, with youth, and I don't see anything for youth or recreation in here.
yeah.
I,
To me, the success of the Old South Road Playground is a no-brainer.
It's-
To these other, is there, there's two, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the other one's
Tom
that.
Yeah, yeah, for both of those, you know, to spread it out and allow those like, you know, Tom Nevers and nobody are, allow those areas to sort of also, you know,
That's good.
Yeah, I'm surprised it ranked this low. I thought I.
it just didn't meet,
Required.
it doesn't preserve, that it's not
Yeah,
required to prevent degradation, doesn't, you know, there's 40-30 points right there.
families love that park.
Yeah, so I mean, just, I think these are great. I think they're important projects. I think that they are gonna skew low on the scale due to for a variety of factors. But none of which kind of underscore whether or not they're beneficial to the community. Number one, and number two, they're small dollar amounts. And number three, I think that these might, I don't know for sure, but I would presume that these are the type of slam dunk projects for, and maybe even after the fact, the environmental justice policy stuff. Because you're putting out facilities for people who may not,
For anyone,
they're for anyone.
Yeah.
But the environmental justice policy is looking at facilities for people who don't have access to a membership at the golf club
or a big backyard.
or a big backyard.
Right.
Or,
Assuming it's in an environmental justice
Cool.
tract, but
yeah, well, I mean, we haven't done the study yet, but we're funding
I
it.
believe that
it is.
actually is,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is, yeah. But I'm just saying,
Or
assuming
what?
that it is.
Yeah. It's
Um,
in an environmental justice tract on the map.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
they do it like a district.
The other
Joe?
thing about this, if we keep in mind, is they've approved the money for the new field, so they might as well do it at the same time.
Good point. So do we need a
I
motion?
move to.
Motion,
get
can we
into-
address?
Force it in.
yeah, I'll second that.
And I'm sorry, the motion was to keep it in. To move it forward, yeah, okay. So that's that one, we're not dealing with that, need additional information, just, I, got my eye on the time here, we still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
We'll make it.
in a minute.
1 minute.
2 seconds, go.
Um,
I'm gonna leave for solid waste again, so.
So the Baxter Road, okay, I should have done this earlier, when things get a little bit frictiony, I lose track of the bigger long-term picture, time-wise management. Apologize, while Howard was here and we did say 2-hour meeting, I should have moved up the solid waste discussion, and we could have maybe had that, and then when Howard isn't here next week, we would jump into these other ones.
I'm gonna join in on Tuesday. If you're gonna do it on Tuesday.
I think we might have to have a Tuesday meeting so that I can complete this work on
This coming Tuesday,
Thursday
at what time?
at 1. No,
I'm in the PFAS summit all day,
All day.
till 2:30.
How about, does any other day work for you, like Monday?
Wednesday,
or Wednesday afternoon after.
not Monday.
Wednesday's not my favorite day to add meetings, just saying.
No, I'm past favorite days to add meetings.
Well,
I mean, for me.
oh, yeah, you're long past that, yeah.
I'm not, that wasn't a,
Monday?
I can't, I'm traveling
Okay,
all day.
All
I'll
right.
be able to chime.
I
and
can't
Tuesday
do
you're
1
tied up.
o'clock.
Can you do Tuesday morning?
No, it starts at 8:30.
Oh, it's all day.
I'm all day,
So-
yeah.
So Wednesday,
What
what
about-
about 3 PM?
Yeah, I could do.
yes.
I have to get
Yes.
off at 4.
Well, are you gonna take an hour?
No, I have a standing appointment. at
No,
4.
no, no, no.
No, I'm joking
Solid
with you,
waste.
you're gonna, it's,
Oh, no, I can
If you're
take 5
talking-
minutes into it.
okay, so I just didn't,
You don't need anything special for it. It's, it's pretty clear.
okay,
Simple.
do we wanna just jump on it now? Okay,
let's
cause I
do
didn't
it.
know if people were
We can
leaving
do
at
it
2
now.
o'clock.
I gotta recuse, I.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I might as well.
We're just
take
giving you
note.
color. You can listen to the color, that's all.
For
No,
which
I
one,
know.
Jill?
For solid waste, Tim, yeah.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let's know for the record, you'll refuse
Yeah.
on,
Any of those others that you feel about?
projects.
The other ones, I think it was fine.
The other ones that are no's?
They're all yeses.
Everything you guys called, there was nothing in that list I wanted to know.
Really just
What
smile
was
on.
the
There's a
dump
couple
truck?
that
It
were
was
said.
all stuff that I was.
All right,
I was surprised. I thought you guys would call stuff that I didn't, but I spent all that stuff. Yeah.
and if you see any that you have concern about, shoot me an email or text.
Yeah, sure.
Because we'll try and pick up discussion at the next meeting.
Okay.
If I know in advance, otherwise I'm just gonna try and move this through to get
It's in
the
red.
product done.
No, they're all actually voted up,
Yeah, are those all above the,
But they're in
but
red.
they
Different-
were
different red?
asked for more information.
Yes, so
Okay,
So,
all right. Well, we didn't really need more information, but truth be told is they had looked at doing a shorter term.
Thank you, Joe.
See you, Joe.
so yeah,
Landfill expansion versus the 11-year landfills. And with the Mass DEP, with any DEP, if you've got the approval, you really need to do it because they'll pull it if the things change over time. And by spending the larger amount of money, we're actually preserving the right to take advantage of the current DEE approval for the new segment of the 3B expansion.
Yeah.
And that's really important. If, I've seen the DEP 5 years from now. And historically, just say, you know what, we've changed our mind on that, we're not gonna let you do it. And that's something we can't afford to do.
and we are closer to out of space than. Because of some of the challenges around the management agreement. A survey that should have been done on the duration, the anticipated duration of the current cell.
mhm,
What was not updated is being updated now. But we expect that we really need, what that's gonna show is we really need to do this. We don't have as much
old
time.
piles, the old ones, 1A, 1B were not, I think for sure 1A wasn't lined and that was done before the code changed
Yeah,
years ago. And these are gonna be state of the art, so if we get into trouble, they'll be able to move the stuff from the other ones into these and save our butts a little bit, I believe.
And there's also some other ideas that they've come up with that they're gonna pursue, which is there's valleys between the two cells. And can we use the valleys to actually increase the capacity of the existing line cell and the new line cell? So they're really being quite creative about maximizing.
right. The totality
The
of the
utility.
geographic boundary could be vertical as opposed to some slope arbitrarily.
So that's why when Sue and I talked about it, she went back in and changed the numbers appropriately to be the 11-year solution with the additional 500 plus some $1,000 of oversight. Did you want to add anything to that, Sue? Okay. And the other thing that we did also was when we had a conversation about these costs that were set up for the digester, composter and the transfer station. There is major work that needs to be done there. Those numbers did not reflect anything but the price that we were offering to the seller. So Libby is creating another warrant. That's because comes from a different pocket of money, I understand, to cover the capital costs necessary to refurbish these and bring them up to speed. And that's something you didn't know either, but you do need to. Yeah.
and so it's not
Is
reflecting,
that 5 minutes?
So there's gonna be a little bit more.
then what's reflecting the 1 million and the 3.4.
Yeah, it's gonna be a third item.
So the 1 million was the contracted price in the original agreement with Waste Options.
No, it was a price that you agreed to. It was not the contracted
Okay,
price.
we disagree.
Let me just say that if I had been involved in this, we might not be offering what we're offering.
I believe that. No, that's good, helpful information. I think questions. I have a few.
Okay,
So I landed from Mars. I read that the landfill's closing, but the town of Nantucket is buying capital resources.
Oh,
Can
so-
you explain that to me?
Yeah.
Landfill's closing.
Doesn't get it exactly.
No, I'm,
So there's
I'm
a
trying to
certain-
address.
There's a service
common issue
contract.
perception.
Oh,
There's a service contract that expires December of 2025. In the contract, there are requirements for us to either to offer for the vendor demolishes these items and takes away everything and rehabs the site, for us to offer at certain prices to buy these particular items which they paid for and that they built. We determined that we can't live without those, nor could we replace those for the prices that
Fraction.
we've offered. We are putting together a long program of what we're gonna do for the landfill going forward to address, the next 10 years or 20 years. There'll be a new service contract negotiated. There's an RFP that's going out probably in the next few months to get bidders to commit to the program and pick a new bidder and negotiate a new contract, which would then flip into place at the end of the existing contract.
Okay.
So no
that-
one is selling the landfill. It's a simple issue of the fact that the service contract that services this, that work, the people are their contract is expired.
Okay. I just, that is a useful, I think, tidbit to be sharing and trying to get out, which is why. I
January
asked.
11th, 6
January
p.m.
11th.
The
5
other is,
minutes, right? That's all it's gonna take.
Yep.
what is our horizon for the useful life of the landfill? Under current projections, do we anticipate it's a 20-year resource, it's a 50-year resource, it's a.
Are you asking for the landfill piles or the equipment?
The cells.
The
The cell?
usefulness to be bringing our waste stream to that location is projected to be how long?
That answer, I don't know. Because they've cited these cells, that's 11 years. So could they cite other cells elsewhere on the property? I have no idea. Do you? I don't think you do either.
Yeah, I don't know either. However, all of the waste stream management that we've done, the whole non-recyclable, non-compostable.
Right.
Is to maximize the duration of time
Mhm.
that we can continue to use piles
So in other
Here.
words, very little.
Right.
and not have to ship everything.
Everything that the only thing that stays here is waste that comes out of the composter that has plastics in it. Because it can't go anywhere. We're stuck with it unless it goes to an incinerator and shipped off the island to an incinerator. The glass goes somewhere, the plastic is bundled up and goes somewhere. The construction debris is used in roads again.
Cardboard,
Cardboard,
yep,
yep,
goes,
goes on it. Yeah,
Right. And
yeah, the glass is actually crushed and used to top,
the roadway.
the road.
well, roadways and actually the pile.
Yeah.
To keep stuff from blowing.
So,
Yeah.
and then the agricultural waste, they're working to keep it clean. So that they can actually sell it or
Yeah,
reuse
mulch
it.
it.
It's organic certified lawn and leaf waste compost.
So that's a new thing that they did, was they made sure that it was usable, reusable.
Right, and then the only other thing is the composted outflow from the digester. So it's screened and all of the stuff that isn't compostable is the bundle, that's what's going in the landfill. And then the quality of what's coming out of the composter is potentially problematic, and we're gonna have to figure out how to deal
Right.
with that. So,
State a little bit differently. In order to, under contract, in order to continue to operate the landfill as we know it today. Certain actions may or may not happen, but the contract outlines that they will happen on a certain date, so the provider can pack up shop, subject to certain considerations, leave the facility boom clean, if you will, demobilize. Or the town has the option to purchase the equipment so that we can continue past that service date in the contract, the performance date, whatever it is, what did you call it?
Demobilization,
Demobilize.
which is not a choice here.
Okay, no, I get it, but so I make sure I understand. And the only question then is if we were cited by DEP, what would it, I guess the question for me looking forward is, what is the likelihood of the facility the useful life of the facility being more than 10 years, more than 20 years, more than 30. It's not I just want to be clear, it's not a deciding factor for me. We don't really have an
Rhetorical
option. I'm curious, pardon me?
I was trying to make it into a rhetorical question.
I mean, I think it would be useful
I
to
think no one
know.
knows, and I think technology is changing.
Yeah,
Right,
And I think that the growth of the island's waste is increasing dramatically. So
But-
I think that there are too many moving parts that question can't be answered.
but I want to look at the positive side of it as opposed to the negative, not considering, let's presume that there will not be a siting of the cells. What do we reasonably anticipate the useful life of the facility is? Operating as it is without any intervention by DEP.
Well, with the new cells, it's 11 years. Is that your question?
So it's 11 years. Well, I didn't know if there were more, I don't know enough to know.
Oh,
if
no,
there are cell
you asked a
areas or-
question, if, could there be more cells?
Yes.
We said we didn't know.
Okay, so that answers, it fills in part of the gap of information,
Right.
why you can't answer.
Right.
More
It's
than
too many
one
moving
years.
parts.
Okay, thank you,
Too
that's
many
helpful
unknowns.
for me.
Unknowns.
If they excavate the unlined cell, are they calling that possibly a possible new cell?
we are not excavating the
It's not
unlined
happening.
cell.
Okay,
She just said that in the event that it became a problem, then we would have room to move that waste.
Okay.
And solve our problem. But the DEP is really frightened, apparently, of this installation. They don't know what to do
Yeah, they haven't, we're under an order for closure
for many
of the old
years.
cells, and they won't issue us a permit to close. There's a lot of stuff unknown in the regulatory landscape.
yeah,
So this plan is to do the best we can under the regulatory circumstances that we have, with the assets that we have,
And current technology.
and to have improve the amount of control we have over operations at the landfill, which has been a thorn in our side with the current contract, because they own the assets. There's not a lot of town control. So what's gonna happen in the new contract is the town is going to take over some of the responsibilities around managing licenses and permitting, so that there's more transparency to the town around what's going on out there operationally in the new contract by a lot.
Right.
So we're gonna be in a lot better place.
So-
And then we also built in flexibility in that contract so that if technologies change.
Right.
We're not locked in. So if something becomes available that we can't even imagine, or something that we can imagine becomes actually possible to use, the contract says we can require the vendor. to
Well, we haven't
implement.
drafted the contract. yet.
Well,
So
yeah,
on that
hopefully.
note, the law firm that the town is currently using has zero expertise in negotiating service contracts. It's a very specialized
Yeah.
business.
Let alone
It's not-
landfill service contract.
yeah,
Well, service for landfill.
Okay, I just wanted
Yes,
to make sure.
I'm sorry.
No, I just,
This is a really specific group of lawyers that do these contracts, and that's not what the town had the last time it was
Yeah.
done.
there you go.
So the law firm that I'm going to hopefully get us to, one of the law firms that's experienced.
Engage.
Howard and Howard.
Engage is going to actually, right, is actually gonna know
Yeah.
all the questions that we need to have answered in the contract. So that we don't screw ourselves.
Mhm.
what was that called? Howard, hourly?
Schultz and.
Howard and Howard.
So it's an interesting question,
That's a
but I don't think
math.
that the town knows that the law firm is, I don't believe, capable of doing the work that we need to have done.
Yeah.
So, Chris, did you have a question?
But they're good law firms.
Experts. Yes,
Because if not, I'm gonna go.
I just wanna say
I
that.
got some more.
Go ahead, mine is not.
Yeah,
it's
no.
Just,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm looking this, the three-legged stool is the capital resources, the facility. Operations control through performance-oriented contract.
Yeah.
Based on the third leg, which is reasonable projections of what the waste stream is. And it sounds like we have the best information we're gonna get on determining the waste stream. You all are working on the capital resources and will come
And
up with
planning.
a good, or at least reasonable settlement in terms of what the expenses are based upon what you're working with, noting that it could have been better, but it isn't. So for me, the last leg, and I'm a little uncertain that it reaches to the ground with the others, is the extent to which the operations contract is going to be, the service contract is gonna meet up to even reasonable expectations, knowing the history we've had with the last one.
It's all about having a tight contract. And the difference between our owning those assets and the finances of the operator being locked into the financing of the construction and maintenance of those assets, that's what's gonna be substantially different.
That's,
In other words, I would
Make
answer your
sense?
question this way, because I agree with them. The law firm that did whoever did the contract before was not knowledgeable and an expert in this area. And they didn't answer or address in the contract all of the issues that you might find troubling.
And are we, thank you, and so where I'm going with this is towards a motion. Are we, being you, who are representatives, liaison from the select board and at-large member, comfortable with the direction? For me, I feel as if a motion on any of these should include an acknowledgement that although we don't review operations, we feel that these investments should hinge upon a professionally, a professional specialist type law firm conducting operations negotiations, because otherwise what we're buying into, what we're recommending to buy into, I think is less than what most people on the island would reasonably expect would be a threshold for performance in operating it. You may not feel that way, but I've been looking at this and thinking about it, and there are the three legs of the stool. We've addressed two of them. The one that's hanging open has a very long, somewhat sordid history. And I personally don't want to be involved in making recommendations that creates another situation like that.
So I would discourage you from doing that. I
Okay.
think it's like putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
And it's a necessary evil that we must engage the right people to do this. So you can't go forward, you can't negotiate a new contract unless you get the right people to do it.
So capital program does not need to assert any support on that topic.
No,
I actually think it's outside our purview.
secondly, I'm there and we have a really good consultant and he knows what the capabilities of this law firm. And I'll talk to George and then we'll talk to the town and we'll try to fix it.
So there is support to engage a specialist firm. Or
Well,
there
no,
appears
we
to
have
be.
never talked about it
Okay,
ever.
okay.
You
I-
getting the inside scoop.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right.
And all the listeners.
We're trying to lead this based on our experience in negotiating these contracts previously
Gotcha.
and reading what we have.
Yeah, and I think we should probably not go too far in that because that is
Never talked about it before.
procurement. I mean, it's
It's
all part of
yeah,
procurement.
yeah,
and-
that's a good
Yeah.
base
No,
to
that's
sort
I
of
don't wanna be- yeah.
update.
And on the operations side, I mean, I just not gonna get into the details of this at all. I think we've discussed it
Yeah.
enough.
We know we have to explain a lot,
And we're gonna
hence
do,
January 11th, 6 p.m.
Perfect. Okay.
there's a whole flip book that's.
We
being
know there's a
made
lot of questions.
With a lot of charts to answer your questions and they answer. Somebody says that they want to have a better executive management team of town people to do it. Well, we're gonna address that because that's a silly comment. Somebody else said that the town shouldn't operate the landfill at all. That's a silly comment too. And meaning we shouldn't own the landfill. We'll be addressing that. as well.
You're at the mercy.
Yeah, you're good. You gotta deal with hecklers.
Yeah, it's a tough conversation.
Yeah,
It
no,
is.
it's good that
But
you're
we get
doing
out
that.
ahead of it.
The
Glad you guys are
expected
doing it.
implies simple solutions to a complex problem.
Well, simple and easy aren't on the same.
Which is very
on the same
technical
point.
also.
Never.
And one thing's
Different sides.
Simple and easy are not the point or not.
Oh, that's good.
Well, that's very helpful. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And
Seriously.
we'll leave it at that on those, but we do need to move forward. These do fall.
They're above, right?
Yeah, these
Yeah.
would be above.
So they're
So we're
good.
good to go. Someone had asked, this,
That's Yeah.
Howard covered, I think, just this, the reason we had checked these was that there were email exchanges and we wanted to get an update from you.
And you didn't
on
know
your
what we're
input.
talking about.
That's fine.
The CMOM, is that
and
still
just for the
outstanding?
record, the email exchanges were from Sue providing dollar amount information and updates. And so we'll have those are available.
Up
if you
one,
go-
there was something.
Yeah, there's still an
Came
X on
the other direction.
CMOM.
Oh, I'm so sorry, the
Next one down.
others.
Sewer.
Nope.
Oh,
No,
wait, we gotta go back up to here. We jumped onto the SWAT.
Yeah.
So that was our cutoff, the Baxter Road sewer design.
I mean, that, it says it's legally required, right, in column S? So we don't have any choice.
Right, so we had it as an X automatically because it was below the standard.
Yeah,
deviation,
but it has to
so-
go in.
So is that?
Do we need a motion?
Is-
Mr. Shea?
Just for discussion, so is that currently legally required, or we do know that at some point in the future, we're gonna be legally required to provide that
I
access?
would look to either Brooke or to Sue on that.
My understanding is that it's a future question of us legally providing access. And it's not currently an order that legally we have to move forward with.
Oh, I would agree with you. I think it hasn't been, the legal issues haven't been reviewed to ascertain why the town might necessarily be responsible for building access to private properties when an act of nature, force majeure, takes away their access.
And I wasn't even thinking that, I was just thinking whether or not there's a claim, a legal.
Right.
Requirement right now saying you guys need to provide this, or if we're getting ahead of it because we assume that at some point in the near future, the erosion is going to create
Just
one.
before we go further, Peter's asking, current legal requirement, Howard saying, hey, look, I don't know that there's been. It's
Determination,
been
yeah,
determined whether there even is a legal requirement.
or will be.
I think it should be litigated personally. I don't know what municipal law is on this issue. You know, I know what utility law is on this. This is not a utility, this is a road.
Go ahead, bro.
You're in a much harder place on this than than we are.
So. Baxter Road is. Couple bad winters away from breach. We have gone a long way on this. For a whole host of reasons. I. Favor proceeding. For a whole, like, I mean, I can't even. To hit the reset button and not proceed on this. Howard, you haven't been around.
Oh, I didn't
through
answer
this?
that
No,
question.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
answer. All I did was.
If
answer
we
the
don't-
question. Is it a legal requirement?
Right,
That's all
and,
was-
and I'm not sure technically the answer to that question, but fundamentally. If we signal. Backward motion on this. It's gonna be extremely problematic, in my opinion.
And I would add to that, that you set the precedent for Baxter Road and as other roads,
You can come to the select board and
right?
argue that.
I
Yeah,
think
'cause-
that this, you set the precedent, you've got a problem if you don't do it.
yeah, well, and that's, legal theory too, and that's part of the equation to
So-
be determined.
So
but-
I support what you're saying. Because we need to know what we're gonna do.
And the question for us here today, are we ready to preliminarily recommend this project coming up from below the standard deviation to recommend the $10 million expenditure for fiscal year 25? I mean, that's the question.
I would like to move it forward. I would move to move it forward. And I-
About sewer, I was just gonna know Christie's in the head, so.
Right.
Well, wait,
We give it a minute, because otherwise.
I don't wanna
A motion,
appear to have excluded a member.
no, and I don't want it to, one way or the other, if we've got an odd number here, it might be necessary.
Oh, right.
Okay, so let's hold on that for a moment, please be so kind to remind me of.
Yeah,
that.
I kind of like to know what other people think about it.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say just anecdotally, my, being a lifelong born and raised resident and everything else, it seems like there's a lot of kind of ambiguous, contentious relationships, political and I don't want to say social, but whatever the other non-political, might be with this area of Baxter Road and the town. And it's hard to see where one relationship ends, the other begins. What are we required to do? What are we not? To Howard's point, what does this say about other parts of the island or other parts of Baxter Road where it's, I don't know.
Well, and by the way, these can be subject to betterments, so it doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna end up footing the entire bill. The people for whom access is being
And that's good to
granted
know. I didn't
is,
know that.
yeah, is
Yeah,
subject to
that's-
betterment.
So I'll
That's
pose a
important
question,
information.
not for the purpose of delaying, but I think there, do we wanna pursue some additional information on the legal aspects, or are we comfortable when Christie comes back with you making a motion? Are you comfortable? Because you made the motion.
I am ready to move this forward.
Okay, I presume
I
Christie's
think it's
coming back.
important we do.
I think she's also saying it doesn't hinge on it being a legal issue or not.
Yeah, I would interpret.
Yeah, I
and again,
definitely
but yeah,
agree with that.
whether it is or it isn't, you
No.
would,
Because because if we wait to figure out the legal issue, it may be too late, and then we haven't done it, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
and
So
if
I
we,
kind of put a question mark next to your yes.
There's Christie.
I guess the question is, if we didn't do it and it was undermined Baxter Road and the people there and down Baxter Road, then the question
Costs
is,
a whole lot more than that.
So
legally does it?
I don't know,
I guess that's the question.
but it
Like,
could cost us. a
are
whole
we
lot more than
forced to
that.
provide all these
I
things
don't
just?
think that it,
Baxter Road.
as a non-informed individual in
Yeah.
this, I've never seen anybody discuss whether the town is obligated to do it or not. And I suppose she would know.
Right.
More, and she hasn't said that she.
I am not a lawyer either, but I presume we are moving forward based on a legal advice that we need to move forward.
Yeah, I
After
certainly. would think
years
so.
and years of discussion.
So that's the answer.
This has been looked at, pulped, rolled over, sanded, salt water. I'm, not for or against in terms of my comments, but it's been looked at, a lot of different ways.
Boy, we're tired of hearing it though.
Yeah.
Well, I have to
And
say,
it-
I learned something that I didn't know that
Betterment.
influences the way that
Wood chip.
just the whole thing, yeah. But betterment is a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Which would change maybe the way that I might have rated it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, for me, betterments isn't, funding sources is one of the things that we're looking at for the future rural evaluations as a criterion, so that would come in play for me then. I'm personally, I do have concerns about, this is a policy decision that has a capital cost. This is what this is.
yeah.
And I have concerns about what level of precedent that may or may not set, because these are gonna be big look, I just,
Not a Capcom
no, I know,
decision.
no, but it is part of our calculus.
I understand.
Is, for me, the concern. First of all, I'm gonna vote to support this because I think we need to, we're too far down the road not to. But I'm gonna articulate my concern, which is that. There is this gray area that betterments will help to cover a lot of, I just don't know if it covers enough. And my concern with that is we aren't talking about areas that have. The median, I think is, I don't know what the median was, but the average is probably up around 3.8 or 4, depending on what week you look at the sales stats. These are homes that are, 10, 20, 30 million dollars. So my point in bringing that up is. These are higher dollar investments with higher dollar hourly rate attorneys attached to it. So for me, not knowing what I don't know about the betterment in the gray area, it magnifies the concern for me. It's valid for us to bring those up. It's not valid for us to be requesting. I suppose you could make an argument that it's valid for us to weigh in on those types of things in a peripheral manner. Because it would affect the future basis of the capital investment. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just thinking out loud here because we haven't had a chance to discuss this. Chrissy, do you want to go and then we'll wrap this up?
I'm good on this one.
I would just say, I don't agree with you. we're not being asked to do the project.
It's so much more fun when you don't agree with me.
Right.
We don't agree, what are we doing?
You know, we're not being asked that. Being asked, do you want to fund a study to figure out what to do? And I believe that if you're armed and dangerous, because you know what we need to do, you know, what it's gonna cost and what it's gonna look like to solve this problem, then we can, then if there is a contentious issue of what to do, at least we'll be armed with information.
And I would say the other thing about betterments is, you know, we are looking at coastal resilience district
Yeah.
to shore up the legal basis for betterments as
That's
well.
true.
So we're coming at this in long-term
That's very
planning for
interesting.
coastal resilience.
I didn't think about that.
Yes. So lot of different things.
Should we wait to get those in place
So,
before we do
so
this?
I just want to say
Okay.
that I think you need to separate the issue. This is just a study.
But this is,
Oh,
but
No,
design and
this is-
construction.
this is
done.
construction.
Yeah.
it's not.
This design and construction, designed for 10 million?
Yeah, this is.
No, design and construction.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this
That's
is,
what I'm saying.
this is.
This is
the
let's
whole
do it.
enchilada.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear on that.
Yes, so this is not just, this isn't the roadway, this is the sewer part.
Because if this was design, I'm going back to hiring 3 engineers.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
Three, 30.
boy, it makes
30
Folger's
based
Bridge
on your-
look like
Yeah, I
a
mean, it's.
bargain.
Do the math on the multiple.
I think we're gonna have, be liable at the state level for, we don't have the sewer
Okay,
service there.
so I
Do you
think,
agree?
I'm not gonna weigh in on legal liability.
yeah,
mean, if we
I
want-
will, I think so.
Yeah. So
It's
good.
not,
Just seems to
You don't
me
have
we
to
don't.
sit
it-
in
we
front of
could
an audience
be
to say.
Yeah.
screwed. You don't have-
it is,
So
it's
it's
an
like
interesting
Capcom,
question,
select
Howard.
woman
I don't know.
Yeah.
I-
Christie wasn't just using the restroom, he was
Yeah, yeah.
finishing up his law
Do
degree.
you have,
Um,
unless you have counsel in there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
so I think we, you know, this, again, this is preliminary. We can make a recommendation. If we want to get separate information, we can always follow for the request. But I think at this point, we should decide what we want to do with it.
So I've moved to include this.
Yes, I
Yes.
apologize. You did move
Yes.
and we were waiting. So,
Sorry.
any no's on the motion to include this in the FY 25 recommendation?
You look right at me. I approve.
No, that's been your
I'm-
job.
I'm
because
just- I'm giving
That's-
everybody the hair.
Devil's advocate.
You're the dissent.
Devil's advocate, not dissenter.
You get one veto on each of us.
No, it's good. This is an interesting process, you guys, really. I
Curious-
appreciate everybody's.
Yeah, it is good.
Curious,
Really
Stephen, as a
deep questions.
related project, and I'm assuming it did because we didn't touch on it, the relocation retreat and whatever study from, I think it was Natural Resource Department, did that make it in the hopper? I'm guessing I must have.
The climate action?
No, it was the
Yeah.
relocation retreat and
Yeah.
whatever
That
plan or,
is to advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We left out an important element of
which
this.
seems kind of related.
I meant to, we voted, but Sue, can you, what is the funding
Source.
source? For 108 through 120 Bass Road Sewer Design Construction.
So we did not get to the funding sources for enterprise fund.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, you did tell me that. Thank
It's
you.
always all over.
Get a chance to finish in the meeting.
Sure.
Presumably, obviously, that would be borrowing.
Stormwater coming up.
It's
Okay,
$10 million, so it'll be a borrowing.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah, I mean,
Not
it's
yet.
gonna distill down to one.
Well, maybe someday.
Okay, thank you, Sue.
Sure.
We're down to Humming Pond area north sewer extension.
That was you, Stephen.
For me, it's, I actually flagged this, in case Barry wanted to weigh in. I was thinking of it when he wasn't here yet. And then I think he arrived, but because NPDBC, just planning, I know it's in our sewer improvement plan, a separate document.
Little
so I'm-
backup.
Yeah, I'm not, I didn't have a particular
Okay.
concern.
Water quality.
Yeah, concern to take it out, I mean, the new 10-wheel Western Star dump truck. Sewer medium.
I mean, it's hard when you don't have any vehicle sort of policy to follow. Everything's. It's hard,
Yeah. we could
unless
get-
there's a low priority in something, then you can maybe hold it, but.
It feels good saying no to the sewer department.
You know, I was saying earlier while I'm looking this up, it's.
Yeah.
In some ways, I really wish we would, after we meet with the department, we would do this process, because
Right
we
away.
lose. You know, we have
Update, yeah, current.
current information that's relevant, and then we kind of lose it over time. We reviewed this department, a month and a half ago or something.
That's true.
Purchase a new 10-wheel dump truck for construction projects and sludge hauling. It is ranked a medium. And
Not replacing something similar.
yeah, no indication of that.
They do have a sludge hauler currently.
And the,
It'd be
well,
nice,
we were all over the boards on this as a group.
it'd be nice to know for new vehicles like this or the mechanics truck, like how many times on average it would have been critical to have in previous years.
Yeah,
Cause when I mean, sewer department, obviously, there's a lot of emergency stuff that comes up, very quickly, but how often are they moving, 20 tons of asphalt and dirt when one does come up?
You
'Cause
know,
typically,
Peter, I'm sorry we didn't ask that question. That's such a
Well,
good question.
I mean, or it's
We should- so many times we should have.
with the mechanics truck. And again, I mean, I respect David's, when he says that they could really use something, I don't think he's just doing it to,
Yeah.
pad the fleet or,
Yeah, I
just
agree.
do it so that next year, he's got it in this year's, but.
and did he speak, I'm sorry, I was away at family matter on this,
Yeah.
at this meeting. Did he speak directly to this? Does anyone recall?
He did, but I don't remember what he said. Do you?
I just don't think it was very in depth. I think
So what kind of follow-up can we do on this?
just asking for
Yeah, I
a
mean, we can
narrative,
Flag it.
a narrative of the importance to, existing and ongoing abilities. So, I mean, I do.
And how frequently.
Well, right, because I do think whenever they have something like this, it's so related, usually you've got a subcon, Robert Hour or CNC or somebody like that who's got their big trucks. And maybe maybe he'd say, well, usually Robert Hour, we pay them to come in and bring theirs in. And we did it 10 times last year, and for how much it costs us to pay them and the drivers.
So I would make a motion to hold this.
I'm gonna ask that we hold your motion and just in the interest of, because we got a bunch of these. That we're holding, so if there's any opportunity to maybe text David. And add them, the frequency to use for the new 10-wheeler
Any other notable,
and any,
Insight.
where this, he's got it ranked as a medium and it's on the cusp of making it. We're just trying to get a little bit more information so we can make an informed decision. I know that's a long text.
text.
No, I've actually, I was texting him about Baxter Road. I do have to tell you, though, he is in his budget meeting.
Okay, well, forget it.
We won't get it today.
But he did say if you wanted to move Baxter Road out to 2026, it's okay. But let me see what I can. I know, I'm sorry, I'm doing my best. to move back.
Underside of the rug.
Jesus.
Now you tell us.
All right,
I
No.
would like to, thank you, Sue. I would like to suggest
stand corrected.
that we revisit that vote if you
I totally,
will make the motion to
I would.
revisit.
a motion to
Do we vote to
reconsider.
redact the vote and then?
Yeah,
We're gonna do a motion to
reconsider.
reconsider. It requires a
Okay.
majority. It requires somebody who voted yes in the first place on
I knew I should have voted against.
any no's on the motion to reconsider. Carries unanimously. Would you like to make a motion
I, motion to recommend that it go to 2020, to,
to out year?
out year.
Okay.
Stay out
Um,
of.
Any no's on the motion? Okay, so that carries unanimously.
All right, cool.
That's big. Yeah, we just gotta get
We just,
department heads on.
oh man, I feel like.
textile.
That was good.
Maybe we get a day
That's
where
right.
Thank you,
department
Sue.
heads are on. the
I'm
line
sorry,
and
we
do
couldn't hear you.
interviews, unmute. Hey, yeah, real quick, this review, what do you got? Okay,
Did
then.
you,
I'm
oh, your phone?
I didn't know if it would make sense to have David come back next week. I'm trying to get more info on the truck right now.
That's fine.
Or
So
just,
we'll-
yeah.
It just says hauling sludge or construction.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can ask him and if we hear from him, we hear from him today. All right, so now we're down to. The CMOM, we got a clarification on this. That is a request for the. Full 2 million. It ranks high in the chart. The valuations, I had Xed it because we wanted a clarification. On the stormwater versus the sewer, that brings us down to. Decommissioned fire cisterns, we got we got 2 left.
Christie, was that you?
Nope,
Cisterns?
nope.
No, that was, oh, could have been barrier.
That one's me, I'm concerned that there isn't an integrated approach to stormwater management and the fire cisterns. Those things were there for a long time and handled stormwater runoff and. It's just an individual concern. I didn't feel like I got a sufficient answer on that when I brought it up. And I'm not suggesting we need to hold it and it can't happen, but it just doesn't seem to me that filling these in as we go is necessarily the best option if they're deprecated because they're no longer structurally functional. That's one thing. But otherwise, we have a French drain in the ground in an area where you can't get an easement to put a French drain in anymore because it's downtown. And a lot of the property lines and so on and so forth. So for me, it just seems a little too,
Hasty,
pardon me?
hasty.
Yeah,
Do you want to follow up?
Stephen?
yeah.
I didn't know, and maybe I missed it, that fire cisterns were back in the day, part of a stormwater
Yeah,
management system. Or are they standalone? Because I think that if you were to roll them into the stormwater system, then that's gonna be expensive. But I didn't, is
Yeah,
that,
no,
is
I
that,
get it. For me.
I don't know.
The logic is that historically rainwater was used to fill these, so they put them in locations where the rainwater would collect. So stormwater management is about diverting that water. So I feel like we should have a better understanding before we fill in these holes. If we're concerned about, what is it, green lawns make brown harbors, and I agree with that, and all these other kind of holistic viewpoints. It seems to me like we might spend a little time determining whether we actually want to fill these things in or not. Again, that's just me, I'm not trying to.
yeah, I think that you have the, I think that the use for them back then was, for obviously fire prevention. But I don't know if they were used for anything else, which we already have a fire prevention system, so I don't know how they play into the stormwater management system.
And
I don't
neither
know.
do I, that's the point.
Yeah,
Brooke.
They don't flow out, they hold water, which is not stormwater management. It's collection, right? So, I understand your question, but converting doesn't seem practical.
No, I'm not,
honestly.
just to be clear, I'm not suggesting converting them, I'm suggesting they're holding stormwater. And if that collection isn't factored into the stormwater management plan, then.
Oh,
it's not
I
factored
see.
into the stormwater management.
Water's gonna have to go
What
somewhere else.
happens if you fill them in?
How could
are they still collecting stormwater?
Yeah,
Why would they
Well, yeah,
bother
that's why
putting
they're
it in
filling
the
it.
budget
It's already
if they
filled
don't,
with.
if they needed that?
What?
Somebody's already determined that they don't need them.
we'll
No,
still,
that's not Stephen's point. What happens to the water that no longer naturally flows? into
Whatever it is, they determined that.
Yes.
they're
well, no, that's my other point, is when I asked that question, I didn't feel that I got a substantially directed to answer the question answer.
Really?
Yes.
It's,
Um,
my original recollection was this was prompted by the one or two that essentially caved in. Right? When we
Yeah,
went
I
on
think
Main
so, I
Street,
think
and
so.
then they
Yeah,
were
but I
like,
was-
all right,
yeah,
as a safety
yeah.
hazard, mitigator, should we start filling these in wherever we find them?
I think so.
And so part of your issue is whether or not they thought about the repercussions of possibly filling them in.
Right, if
And where the
if-
stormwater
yeah.
might go if they're not going to these.
Yes, and if, obviously, if you come across one and you take the top off.
And
to
it
the
looks like it's gonna
sidewalk
fall
and it's
in.
Falling in, you do what you gotta do, so, again, I don't want it to be a longer discussion, I just felt like, sometimes what are the unintended, I always believe that you should try and reasonably anticipate unintended consequences, and even if it's only the first order of unintended consequences, to, reasonably anticipate them, I think it's important. It was along that line of thinking. In terms of the bigger picture here, like, we've spent way too much time already talking about it, so. What would we like to do?
But valuable.
Conversation.
We all know a lot
No,
more
I
about
think
it.
it's good.
Yeah.
Leave it
Okay, well, I
alone.
just, I didn't wanna be,
Leave it alone.
No.
Be mine.
so that, no change.
Anyone can make a motion.
Newtown Road improvements, I called this one out, we discussed, granite curb. As a,
Whoa. don't know why that.
potential, if it's not already in there, as an enhancement to the scope. I think I used my experience on Hooper Farm Road, walking that and knowing it's literally saved lives to have that granite curb put in there. I've changed tires for some folks.
Who've hit the grid curve.
I've done repeatedly.
Not the granite
others
curbs.
Who pulled over onto the neighboring road, who I walk by and they're struggling to figure it out. So I thought it was important just to bring up as a reminder that I did bring it up earlier. I don't recall it being in the scope. And I think it would be an important enhancement. And then the other enhancement, I think that would be important to implement in the scope is some type of a traffic slowing device to the south on Hooper Farm as you're pulling out, because people rush right up to the rotary before they slow down. And the end result of that is that people who are on Newtown don't pull out, and you get traffic back up along Newtown. Because they know that they're coming so fast that they can't make that tight corner without leaving a little bit of rubber on the roadway. So I thought that at least having transportation look at, and I'm not saying they need to put it in, I think it would be beneficial personally from my experience, but with respect to our recommendation, it seemed important that they at least look at the concept of some type of traffic slowing, rumble strip or something. Because people come right up to that intersection. That's number one currently. Number two, there's gonna be a lot more foot traffic there. So this is gonna be from 6 Fairgrounds to Tacoma Green and 31 Fairgrounds. So Nat likes to point out,
Housing.
Nat Lowell likes to point out that I picked up on Newtown Road 10 years ago is something we should be working on. And there's a couple other projects he says that about. I'm doing that now for us. Like, there are other issues that are gonna come up, and I don't know that they were addressed. We didn't have transportation planner, I don't believe, to discuss those with. So I feel like it'd be important to try and highlight those. I support the project, so those are my comments.
And so how does all of that, or could all of that work into a motion to approve or hold? I mean, is that within our purview to say?
I would
we wanna do
suggest that we leave it and it'll go forward.
Okay.
But I just want to set the stage for, I think our recommendation might include.
I wrote it as a
Supplemental.
footnote.
Yeah, I mean, that's, that's, I'll agree.
I'm on board.
All
Yeah.
right, so we're gonna just very extremely quickly go through this. Everything except for the maroon are a yes, unless
They're red.
there's an out year or they're below the standard deviation and they don't have a yes. Make sense? So
Yeah,
these are not, these would be an out year. Because it doesn't have a yes. It says a yes, so this will be a current,
Yeah.
the column is current year.
is it possible to send us the ones that are still up for discussion?
Yes.
So that we can just know for next meeting, we're not
Yes.
sort of
And.
not saying anything?
Yes, the only caution is I don't know that we'll have the information from department heads by the next meeting. So happy to send it to you,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I don't know that we're gonna discuss them until we get the
That's
information.
fine.
And we can do them piecemeal, that's not an issue. For instance, we can address, I think there was some sewer and there definitely was the public police auxiliary building. So we'll get those
Yeah.
as we go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that wraps us up there and.
So we'll have a meeting notice then for the new meeting time next Wednesday?
Well, that I'm gonna get to in just a moment.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, I just wanna go, just, I gotta keep track, I like pilots have a checklist, I just wanna keep a checklist here.
Yes, we do.
We covered the annual report and recommendations work group update, committee reports, we're good to go. Good to the order, we're good to go. Date of next meeting, Howard's question. So I think what we talked about was having a meeting before the 14th to try and finalize what we could. But what we have to finalize are the dump truck. Right? the 10-wheel dump truck. The certified maintenance and admin. The public safety auxiliary building, we just need to discuss, we have that information. Town employee housing feasibility, I don't think we're gonna get that information by then. But I'm looking at this list is with an eye on what information will we have?
Yep.
And I think at this point, the information we're gonna have is if David has the dump truck, we have public safety. The climate action plan, I don't know that we're gonna have in time. DPW facility design, I don't know we're gonna have that in time.
What further information were we hoping for that? What's the question?
Is that locations?
Oh, I
It
can
was
answer that.
locations, I didn't put it here too, but it was also a recap of the overall costs and a breakdown. Because the design is based upon a design that was specific to the current location.
So I believe that the facility design, it can be used in any of the,
New
it's
locations?
proposed, it fit, they've
Yeah.
overlaid it
That's right.
on all the potential sites
Yeah,
and
I
it
can
can
see that.
fit. So, and then, I believe that the Shadbush site is where we're leaning for a whole host of reasons, so.
And I'm actually not gonna get, I just want to clarify, I'm not in on the discussion of this one,
Yeah.
only with. Exception for scheduling purposes,
I
so,
see.
Peter, would you let's finalize how we want to proceed.
When it
with
comes
I
up.
got you, okay.
Yeah, I
Alright.
mean, do you guys feel like we can address? Other than the question that was asked by the membership, do you feel you can address this request? With that information, or do we need other information?
I think I was just waiting to hear whether or not it was Shadbush or we were still considering
So,
other.
so this
locations.
allows us to flesh out Shadbush,
Yeah.
that's what this does, it adds, so we had we had we had Mattocket Road.
Yeah.
And
which
we
is
added, Nobodier.
Yeah.
And now and those came in really high,
Mhm.
and we think Shadbush is more cautious.
Shadbush, remind me, that one's where?
That's the shooting range, it's a portion of the shooting range.
That's what I needed to understand, so I'm gonna recuse from this, because I
Okay.
wasn't sure exactly where we were talking about,
Yeah.
I had a perception that it might be. So,
Oh, and you're in the hunting club,
yeah,
That's
so I,
so you're,
I mean, I don't even wanna address, scheduling is, I've checked with ethics, that's not an issue, but I'm not, when we're talking about meeting schedules.
Yeah.
I can discuss the topic, but I don't want to deliberate on it, so why don't you guys decide what you wanna do, and then let me know.
So Shadbush is, by the hunting club.
a portion of the property that
Is the potential site.
has been authorized to be leased, but
Which is
has
down
not been leased.
New South Road.
So it is, what has happened is they have discovered a Kevlar netting technology that would allow the hunting club to have people shooting at a range that doesn't require as much land because it would be captured by a Kevlar net. And that allows the DPW facility to be co-sited on that 23-acre parcel that was contemplated for the lease. There have been conversations with the hunting club about this shared and there's potential for this to work, so we're looking for money
Yeah.
to investigate whether the design that has been, the facility that has been described as what is needed for DPW operations can fit on the Shadbush site
And what was the other?
and co-locate with.
So
the
those
hunting club.
existing Mattocket Road.
And nobody
Farm Road,
Farm Road.
but really off of Sun Island, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like back
and
by
that's a super
Nantucket
tight-
Marine on the
So,
left.
so it's
Sun Island's on
airport
your right.
land.
Yep.
it's
Might have been.
airport
yeah.
land, subject to a market lease,
Yeah.
extraordinarily expensive.
Shadbush
Okay.
is town land.
Okay, makes sense.
So, and Mattocket Road was in theory subject to, you'd have to spend a few $1 million to elevate the site. And you're still in a pretty bad spot coastal resilience
site-
wise.
And it's just,
Mattocket Road needs a rest a little bit.
well, and it's,
So,
yeah, and that location's not just well sited, it's not central.
well,
For
and-
such a
and-
centralized service.
yeah, and frankly, DPW facilities mid-island. feels like it makes sense to me,
100%.
right? Or relatively mid-island.
And so 23 acres at Chad Bush sounds like a pretty large site. I don't know how big
Right.
their current.
So
site
it
is.
was necessary for the layout of the hunting club.
Yeah.
They
As
needed it with
was
until
designed.
this technology.
Yeah.
Is there any
was
advantage
discovered.
in the existing situation where you have DPW right next to solid waste? Is there any reason why it's convenient that they're close together?
They're separate operations.
I know they are, but
I doubt the benefits outweigh the benefits of having it centrally located for a
Yeah,
host of other
I
reasons.
agree.
You know,
I hope that Kevlar curtain works.
Yeah, that's a little,
I mean, I get,
kind of,
little like,
that's,
not working at that.
that alone is kind of management. I know.
Well, they're not, as
sure they're
I've
still pretty
seen
far
it
away.
laid out, they are not firing toward the DPW
I would
facility.
Oh, okay.
It's
and I would imagine with 23
it's
acres,
presented to the select board at some
Yeah.
point in time, so it's not.
the only wrench there would be ongoing litigation towards the shooting range in general from the private
Yes.
residents, and then would that possibly hold up any development of the DPW site?
I can't answer your question,
'cause it
but
seems like
in my
people are-
imagination, if we identify a different scope of land for the hunting
Yeah.
and separate, I just don't know, but
It
that's
just-
that's what all of
It
this
seems like
money's
people that have
for.
been holding that up kind of intentionally or will continue to do so as long as they possibly can. And does that have any impact on the DPW citing their headquarters there?
I can't answer
Well,
that question, but I
shooting range
suspect
is not-
it will be part of this process of determining whether it's an appropriate location.
Yeah,
My
sounds good.
guess.
I mean, yeah, that's enough for me. As the vice chair, yeah, anybody else?
No.
Good,
So
Yeah.
we can take away the red box.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess he can't take a vote, but
Okay, oh, good.
Well, no one's gonna vote to take it off, right? Because it's.
Yeah. That's a expensive little campus, but
I want to say on the timing issue, these issues seem to be not rising to the level that if you wanted to do it next Thursday when I couldn't be here, that
You're good with,
you should do that.
well,
because-
I need to turn it in Thursday, so I think,
there still needs to be a meeting.
so I'm gonna
beforehand.
need
Oh,
paperwork time after.
Yeah, so we're good. You can
so
take the
we
red box
voted
away.
unanimously to.
Remove the
Well,
red
I don't
box.
even know if we need to vote, but yeah,
No,
we're good
there's
with the
no
red
vote,
box. We have enough
We just, by
information
consensus,
Yeah.
we have no more questions.
on DPW facility.
DPW facility,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then where are we, last item to resolve is, where are we with a meeting date and time, so we can.
Yeah.
Or are we comfortable just having these be, look,
It's
EV charging stations? Ground mapping radar for
Just
downtown,
CPC dependent.
are we,
Which we're not gonna have an answer from,
yeah.
to the
Yeah.
14th from CPC on that.
yeah, I
question.
wonder, do we just put these down as, a non-ambiguous comment? So it's not perceived as we're for or against. That we're just waiting additional information on these and we'll follow up with a supplemental.
Under consideration.
Yeah, something just
I mean,
so,
that could be approved pending.
yeah, approved pending, well, we didn't
CPC
vote
approval.
on.
Well, the thing is, the CPC is a recommendation to town meeting, it's not an approval.
Correct.
Or
So it's
CPC,
Subject, yeah.
positive CPC record.
Still.
Yeah.
So we do, I think, one of two things. We can do one of three things. We can meet and try and resolve as many of these as we can, which I'm a little suspect that we're gonna have the information we need. We can vote on these to the extent we want to today and make them, if we want to make them approved pending, or I don't think we're gonna shoot them down because we don't have enough information. So that's option two. And option three is that we just put in a notation that these are not yet determined. Those are, I think, our three options.
I motion 3.
Three, okay. And pursue the additional information and then we'll have it on the 14th and we can discuss it, but it won't be it won't be the tail wagging the dog in terms of.
Yeah.
Our preliminary up down.
You can do your report.
Yeah, does that make sense to you guys to proceed that way?
Yeah.
Fine with
Okay,
that.
so we'll
Yeah,
do
it
that.
Sounds like the least restrictive.
Okay.
Yeah, right there before you start going, so the retreat right there, row 301, sorry, 301, strategic retreat and relocation, so did that get moved?
That actually got moved to an out year,
Okay.
correct, Sue?
Like,
No.
before any of our,
In all due respect, it was combined into
Yes,
coastal resiliency. So I updated the
coastal resiliency,
Yeah,
and then maybe
I
vote that one up or
updated
down.
Long
Yes,
as
I'm
that-
sorry, I have a few emails from Sue.
Gotcha.
It was changed from CRP to natural resources. Kind of rolling, because we rolled this one into
Yeah,
admin
no.
3.005.
And that one, we voted in.
Was that for
Yeah.
250,000?
Yeah,
It added
They added the 252
$2
right?
million.
Because that's the, yeah.
Yeah, it was coastal resiliency that we voted to, based on
Okay, yeah.
Christie's
Got it.
So that was a 5-2.
Yep, that's what added the two.
Seems like a leap
very
ago.
articulate
I know, right?
argument.
And then
favor.
the only other one I maybe got wrapped in was the Surfside Road improvements. Did that one get whited out because it got voted in favor at supplemental town meeting?
Special.
Special town meeting?
That
Yeah,
one
that's-
was
yeah,
special,
that's-
yeah.
yeah, gotcha. Okay, so that one.
No,
Yeah.
Surfside Road, the DPW transportation one, the supplemental.
No, the Surfside Road improvements that got voted in favor at town meeting.
Yeah, that one came up because it was advanced to the special town meeting. Well, it was actually for the special town meeting. We just reviewed it in an overall context.
Got it.
Okay, so we do not need a special meeting.
Correct.
So date of next meeting will be
Thursday.
Thursday, December 14th at 1 p.m. I want to thank everyone
Weird.
and hoping for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there anyone opposed to
If we didn't get one, would we have to stay?
That carries.
We actually asked
No,
an
you have to
executive
decide.
session this morning if nobody voted, if we didn't vote to adjourn, what would we
We
do?
just have to stay.
We'd sit in the room and talk about only the things on the agenda.
Ooh.
I had
We
one
could've
question,
ordered it.
I had one question about the Kubota. Just kidding.
Yeah,
No. Okay,
Okay.
back up.
all right. Thank you, everyone.
We got it.
Thank you, Stephen.
Boy.
Thank you.
That is very weird.
I don't have some of them, I think many of them.
Sue, could you confirm that the invite,
I think it was on mine. Whatever.
Are you taking?
The 14th,
on the 14th? It's not on my calendar and I don't know why.
Did you send it
I'll
out yet?
send it when it is, I mean, I show it there, but, and I show
Okay.
you on the invite, but I certainly will, once I have the agenda, I'll send you I'll send you the update now, just so you have it, and then when I have
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
It's not on my calendar. I can guarantee you I will make it.
Yeah.
Sue,
Zoom things
just so
are-
you're aware, I did load this, I did find a report about my recorded to the cloud, but the last two meetings are not recorded.
I think Barry recorded the last one, Tuesday.
Oh, he did? Okay, so somebody hit the button. Okay, good.
I
So it's
I had the option to hit request. to
Perfect.
Oh, you were here for that one. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna end, and again,
How
thanks, Sue.
diligent
Yeah.
of you and none of us.